This is the regular Santa Barbara City Council meeting for September 10th, 2024. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Certainly, and this is the roll call for the City Council and the Finance Authority of the City of Santa Barbara. Councilmember and Board Member Harmon.
Here.
Councilmember and Board Member Oscar Gutierrez.
Present.
Councilmember and Board Member Friedman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem and Board Member Jordan.
Here.
Councilmember and Board Member Snedden.
Here.
Councilmember and Board Member Alejandro Gutierrez.
Here.
And Mayor and Chair Rouse.
Here.
Okay.
Well, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? All right. I believe you have an item to read.
Employee Recognition Service Award Pins, item number 1.
Ms. Magadoo.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have a number of city employees that we'll be recognizing today for our September 2024 Service Awards, and I believe one is here with us in person, so we're excited to have him join us. First, I want to recognize Scott Matchin, a Water Distribution Operator Technician 2 in Public Works for 5 years of service. We have Richard Carvalho, an Information Technology Supervisor in our IT department, and Eric Goodall, Supervising Engineer in Public Works for 10 years of service. And then for 25 years of service, we have Jeff Burns, fire engineer, Kel Harden, who's a fire captain, Kevin Hokum, fire captain, all in the fire department, obviously, and then Jose Delgado, a water distribution chief operator in our public works department. I want to take a moment and recognize those individuals, and then we'll move on to the one who's here with us in person. So I want to take a moment there. And last but certainly not least, we'd like to welcome Joaquin Ortega, our senior treatment plant technician from Public Works, to the podium. Is he here?
He's parking.
En route, okay. We will, should we wait, come back to this one and we can?
Yeah, we could probably do a couple lines.
Okay, perfect. We will, oh, is he here? Is this, no?
Almost.
Almost. Getting close. Okay, we'll move on to the next item and come back. Thanks, Mayor.
Ms. Magadoo, are there any changes to the agenda?
Not that I'm aware of today. Thank you.
Okay, very good. With that, we keep waiting for that face of the door. Well, should we go ahead with the consent count then? Do you have some items to read?
I do, Mr. Mayor. Item 2, annual assessments for Downtown Community Benefit Improvement District and Coast Village Community Benefit Improvement District resolution. Recommendation that Council A adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara requesting the Board of Supervisors of Santa Barbara County to include the Downtown Community Benefit Improvement District special assessment on the 2024-2025 tax roll, and B, adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara requesting the Board of Supervisors of Santa Barbara County to include the Coast Village Community Benefit District special assessment on the 2024-2025 tax roll. Item 4, resolution approving the 2024 through 2026 hourly employees bargaining unit memorandum of understanding and amendment of resolution number 24071, the position and salary control resolution for fiscal year 2025, resolution and recommendation of the Council A, adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara adopting the 2024 through 2026 memorandum of understanding between the City of Santa Barbara and the Service Employees International Union Local 620 Hours Employees Bargaining Unit, and B, adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara amending resolution number 24071, the position and salary control resolution for fiscal year 2025, affecting the salaries of classifications in the hourly employees bargaining unit effective September 7th, 2024. Item 5, resolution approving the 2024-2025 management salary plan and amendment of resolution number 24071, the position and salary control resolution for fiscal year 2025, resolution, recommendation of the Council A, adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara adopting the 2024-2025 salary plan applicable only to unrepresented managers and professional attorneys, except the city administrator and city attorney, and the 2024-2025 salary plan applicable only to certain unrepresented safety managers. And B, adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara amending Resolution Number 24071, the position and salary control resolution for fiscal year 2025, affecting certain management classifications effective June 29th, 2024. Item 6, Water Resources Energy Master Plan Resolution Agreement. Recommendation of the Council B, adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara amending Resolution Number 24066, adopting the budget for fiscal year 2025 to appropriate funds for the Water Resources Energy Master Plan. And I think that is all for the consent calendar, Mr. Mayor.
All right, very good. Are there any items that need to be pulled by any council member on the consent calendar? Do we have anyone online that wishes to do so, Madam Clerk?
No raised hands, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, very good. And with that, I will entertain a motion for the consent calendar.
So moved.
Moved by Friedman. Second by Jordan. May we have a vote, please, Madam Clerk?
Yes, this will be a vote on the entirety of the consent calendar. Motion by Councilmember Friedman, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Jordan. Please go ahead and vote.
That passed unanimously. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Ortega has joined us in the council chamber.
Well, it's
so
about
we
time.
will-
Let's get this done.
Great. So I want to again recognize Joaquin Ortega, our senior treatment plant technician in Public Works for 25 years of service to the city of Santa Barbara.
Thank you, sir.
You have to bear with me. This guy's done so much stuff that the font is really small on this. We'll give it my best shot here. Joaquin Ortega, senior treatment plant technician for 25 years of service. Joaquin began his career with the city of Santa Barbara on July 27th, 1998 as a streets maintenance worker 1 in the Public Works Department. He was promoted multiple times in the subsequent years to utility worker 1 in March 1999, utility worker 2 in September 1999, wastewater collection systems operator 2 in March 2002, senior wastewater collection system worker in February 2003, treatment plant technician in February 2006, and ultimately to his current role as senior treatment plant technician in May 2010. Joaquin has served as acting wastewater collection system equipment operator in 2003 and acting treatment plant technician supervisor in 2018. Joaquin holds a Grade 2 collection system maintenance and a Grade 2 maintenance technologist certification from the California Water Environment Association. Joaquin is a vital part of the wastewater team, providing leadership and guidance to the maintenance staff through treatment plant and lift station tasks, and sharing his extensive maintenance and repair expertise with the next generation of maintenance technicians. His commitment was recently exemplified at the Schofield Lift Station, where Joaquin led the team in an emergency repair of a deteriorating discharge piping, staying after hours to ensure the station was brought back online swiftly and effectively while avoiding any spills and protecting public health and the environment. Joaquin has earned many commendations, including Public Works Employee of the Month in December 2023, and recognition as part of the Public Works Team of the Month award multiple times for his efforts assisting wastewater collections, making emergency repairs on the El Estero recycled water treatment plant, and responding to recent storm events. Joaquin, a fifth-generation Santa Barbaran, lives in Santa Maria with his wife Christina and daughters Savannah and Ava. Outside of work, he enjoys watching his daughters competing in barrel horse racing, loves to barbecue for friends, family, and coworkers, and finds joy in camping. Joaquin shares heartfelt gratitude for the unwavering support of his wife and daughters through the long days and weekends he dedicates to his work and this city. So Joaquin, on behalf of the City Council, the residents of Santa Barbara, and your fellow employees, it is my pleasure to recognize your many accomplishments and thank you for 25 years of dedicated service to the City of Santa Barbara and the local community. Congratulations, Joaquin.
I just want to say the city's been very, I didn't want to get nervous, but I told myself. But I appreciate what the city had to offer me as a young man, as now, if I had able to provide for my family and all that stuff. I'll love to continue having my years of service and hopefully retire with a good pension. Appreciate my team. Without their help, I wouldn't have all these awards supposedly, but I appreciate it for all the hard work. As a coworker once said, no one knows what we do, but we do is very important to the community. So I hope you all understand and appreciate all our hard work that we do at Alistero Recovery Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't take much to imagine what it would be like if the wastewater treatment system went down, so we appreciate it. With that, we'll take a report from the Finance Committee. Madam Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today, we will actually be reviewing it on council, but it's the debt issuance for the police station in Dwight Murphy Field renovation, and also the authorization to apply for matching funds from the State Local Housing Trust Fund Program for Affordable Housing Project. And the Finance Committee approved staff recommendation, and we will be discussing today at council. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to general public comment. It'll be 3 minutes at the dais. Anything that is within the purview of this body, but not on today's agenda. And with that, we'll start out with Michael Baker.
I didn't expect to be first. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Michael Baker, CEO, United Boys and Girls Club, Santa Barbara County. I wanted to, first of all, thank Mayor Rouse for all your continued support throughout everything that's happening with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and then also Councilmember Jordan for taking time to sit and talk with me about our strategic plan, where we're going as an organization. I did want to share with each and every one of you that we have expanded our outreach efforts here in the city of Santa Barbara, making sure that we're reaching the children not only on this side of town, central part of town, but also west and the east side of town. We're currently transporting 65 youth from the east side of town to the Boys and Girls Club on the west side, which I think is a beautiful thing. When you see the kids from the west side and the east side interacting with each other at the Boys and Girls Club, I can't think of a better place for that to happen. So we're very excited about that and encourage each and every one of you to come down and see your local Boys and Girls Club in action right there right by Bonnet Park. And I also I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that we are also very proud that there are 3 alums of Boys and Girls Clubs on the dais here. It's proof positive that Boys and Girls Clubs work, so we're proud of each and every one of you. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Marcy Winograd.
Thank you. My name is Marcy Winograd, and I am co-chair of the Central Coast Anti-War Coalition and co-producer of Code Pink Radio. I want to thank you, council members, for postponing action on a proposed partnership with the South Coast Santa Barbara Chamber of Commerce for economic expansion. I ask that you not partner either explicitly with $250,000 of taxpayer money, later another $1 million, with the Chamber, whose plans are explicitly to turn Santa Barbara into another Silicon Valley, or what the Chamber calls Techtopia. Under the Public Records Act, our coalition requested emails between city staff and the Chamber of Commerce. After reading 355 pages of emails, here's what I learned. The Chamber, acting almost as an elected body, is working in concert with some members of city staff to court Elon Musk's SpaceX, responsible for weekly sonic booms in the North County, and UCSB's College of Engineering, a recruiter for weapons contractors, to establish itself as tech anchors in our city. The Chamber's promotional Techtopia video, mentioned frequently in those emails, features a spokesperson for Teledyne FLIR, which provides surveillance systems to ICE on the U.S.-Mexican border. And 15 seconds into the Techtopia video, the Chamber thanks ExxonMobil for its support. Techtopia is not the answer to closing the wealth gap in Santa Barbara, and there is a wealth gap. We know that. 23% of the population in Santa Barbara County lives in poverty. That's almost 1 in 4. A new study of Silicon Valley wealth, income, and other economic measures shows vast disparities in one of the country's wealthiest regions, with the top 10% of households holding 66% of the assets in the region. In Santa Clara and San Mateo counties, just 8 households held more wealth than the bottom 50%. About 23% of Silicon Valley residents lived below the poverty threshold in 2021, a 3 percentage point increase from 2019. We elected you, council members, to represent us, to make decisions for the betterment of our community, and our coalition asks you to be the deciders, not the Chamber of Commerce, which is working with REACH, Vandenberg Space Force Base, and the Governor's Military Council to expand industries that deplete our ozone layer, increase gas emissions, and further militarize and privatize California. Thank you.
Thank you. Tariq Rahim. Hope I got that right. Next speaker.
Tariq Rahim.
Okay, thank you.
Tariq Rahim. I'm a 44-year resident of Santa Barbara. I'm an artist, a musician. I'm totally opposed to this militarization of the Central Coast that you are supporting so blindly and wholeheartedly, led down a rosy path to destruction. You have been already doing this for the past 11 months, almost a year now. You've been conducting an ethnic cleansing in Palestine. This is, I warned you at that time that you had to declare a ceasefire, and you just blindly said that that's okay. We want to kill babies, children, and old men in their plastic tents. This is, dropping 2,000-pound bombs on people is just not the human person that you are. You have to become adult. You are behaving like children, all of you, who completely have ignored where you came from on this planet. You have allowed a complete military takeover of your common sense. You really are going to be held complicit for not only this genocide, but the destruction of the Central Coast that you're carrying out by supporting REACH, which is not a government body, a private corporation that's involved in drone surveillance. I mean, this is just disgusting. How can you even go to bed at night knowing that you are responsible for this level of destruction in the world and wasting the money? 60% of your economy is going to the military. What is that about? What are you going to do when you have to have education? Your children are stupid. They are behind the curve for the rest of the world. People everywhere else in the rest of the world live a much better standard of life than people here who are, supposedly living in the #1 economy of the world. It's just not right. Get out of the military. Stop being courted by Elon Musk and billionaires who think that they understand the world. They don't. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Jim Yarborough.
Please do not finance aerospace development on the Central Coast, as advocated by the Chamber of Commerce. There are many sustainable approaches to economic development, and the REACH Elon Musk proposal to enrich themselves at public expense is not a good one. It is aggressively marketed and persuasive, but blasting off more rockets and promoting a weapons and surveillance race in space is not sustainable, healthy, or wise. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Mark Wolford.
Hello, everybody. Randy Rouse and Oscar and all. Miss Gutierrez, you'll be getting my votes too by November. And by the way, you guys are doing a heck of a job with what you do. I've watched a lot on television and watched you guys in action. And boy, I tell you, I thought I seen a lot in my life. And what I just heard, I don't. Goodbye. Anyhow, I've been through a lot. I mean, I just got whacked at the YMCA with about 300 pounds of steel. It split my melon, and I mean, it was intense. And my jaw just lodged. It's just hard. I mean, I don't know how to just explain that kind of pain, but I tell you, it's been. I just feel sorry for those other people in those other countries, but I tell you, I've been through a lot myself, and you guys all, every one of you, have a blessed day, and I mean that. God bless you. Bye.
All right, thank you. And Madam Clerk, are there any speakers online for general public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, very good. And with that, we will close public comment, move on to council member committee assignment reports. Do I have anyone to report? Ms. Sneddon.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. I attended the Sustainable Ocean Collective sort of forum at Santa Barbara City College. Very exciting, actually, and hopeful. And you did as well, Mayor Rouse. And a sustainability committee updates, and I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted from the public comments there. CCRB. We had a meeting. I'm the newly elected chair of the CCRB. We're wrapping up our work with the ad hoc Affordable Housing Crisis Committee. And then also just to announce, Creek Week is coming up September 21st through 28th. And if you look on their website, there are a lot of really fantastic events region-wide for Creek Week.
All right, very good. Mr. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the Living Wage Committee, and they discussed sunsetting that committee, and I believe it's going to come to us next week for a vote.
Mr. Friedman.
Thank you. I attended the Sustainability Committee meeting where we discussed the 15-minute city proposal out there, and it was very informative discussion on the future and options we have downtown. A lot of things we're already implementing just as part of our ongoing operations in the city. So that was encouraging, and we will be bringing that item back to the Sustainability Committee for further analysis and recommendations at that time, and see what might come to council at a later date. But for now, we're still going through the Sustainability Committee with that.
All right, very good. And last week, we had our own Congressman Salud Carbajal here presenting a check for our communication systems along with our Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis, and we had a very interesting chat about things and all things about housing policy, which she is extremely well versed in. So looking forward to having further conversations with Lieutenant Governor over those kind of items. And with that, we will move on to the next item. Madam Clerk, would you read out item 13, please?
Certainly. Item 13, Highway 101 Carpinteria to Santa Barbara and parallel projects update.
All right. Ms. Grant, Ms. Bianchi-Clement.
Good afternoon, Mayor Rouse and council members. I'm Jessica Grant, Supervising Transportation Planner with the city. We're excited to bring you an update. We, meaning the City of Santa Barbara, SBCAG, and Caltrans collectively today on the Highway 101 HOV and widening project with a specific focus on from Carpinteria to Santa Barbara, as well as the parallel projects. As you may know, Mayor Rouse also has another title of Director Rouse. He serves on the SBCAG board, who as a board receives frequent updates on this project. But it's been 2 years since the last time we've gone before Mayor and Council, so we're excited for the update tonight. And then before I bring up my Margie Kern, Director of SBCAG, I wanted to bring up Cliff Maurer, of our Public Works Director, for a few words.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Honorable Mayor, council members, I just wanted to provide maybe real quick professional context before I turn it over to today's presentation. I guess to establish credibility throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to make sure major projects go on while simultaneously maintaining critical operations. And it's not easy, and it never happens without impacts or consequences. And as I can personally attest to last week, where we've had quite a bit of paving going on inside the city, everything went as planned, yet there was still a lot of frustration. And that, unfortunately, sometimes is the nature of the beast when it comes to disruptive, much-needed capital improvement when it comes to streets and roads. Cut to the chase here, not only as your public works director for the city, but also as a commuter who goes through that route every workday, both directions. What is in front of us on 101 is essentially the width of 6 traffic lanes, of which 4 have to be open at all time, and then the other 2 are under construction. And in some locations, we are talking mere feet beyond the width of 6 acceptable traffic lanes. So I just want to state, and I understand from the public, the commuter standpoint, for anybody and everybody who uses the 101 corridor, there are frustrations. It has been a long time, and there are a lot of challenges. But I will say, from my professional perspective, the coordination and professionalism, and most importantly, the execution through SBCAG, Caltrans, and their general contractor, Granite Construction, has just been superb. As you'll hear from Executive Director Kern, we still have a couple years to go, but bear with them. They're doing a great job. So with that, I'll turn it over to Executive Director Kern and her staff.
Thank you so much. Thank you for moving this down a little bit here. Okay, Mayor Rouse, council members, and City Manager McAdoo, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to return to your chambers, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today about this very important project. Again, my name is Margie Kern. I'm the Executive Director of SBCAG and have been so for the past 8 years. We've made significant progress on the 101, as you can see and hear, and we talk about it all the time. But in the past 2 years since we've been at your council, you will hear all the details from our project team, but there's 3 points that I want to bring to your attention at this point in time that couldn't have been done without the partnership and collaboration and the leadership of this council and the quality staff that you have working for you. So thank you so much for that, first and foremost. But the 3 things I want to tell you about that I think are really exciting. We secured our coastal development permit for the Santa Barbara segment. You know how big of a hurdle that is, and we were successful on that. We were awarded funding. I mean, you can't do anything without the money. So in cycle 3 of the SB1 funding that we all voted for a few years back, this has enabled us to fund the Montecito segment and begin construction in Santa Barbara, which will start next week. And then the last but not least, we're submitting our final grant application, which Sarkis is going to talk about. And our goal is to get it done, not quite in 2 years, but 3 years. So we hope to be done with this project in 2028. So those are the 3 things I want to highlight, but they're going to get into a little more details. But I'd like to introduce, in addition to your city staff, who are also going to speak today from our team, Fred Luna, our Director of Project Delivery and Construction from SBCAG, Sarkis Kocek, Director of Programming from SBCAG, and Dave Emerson, the Project Manager from Caltrans. So you're going to hear all the details, and feel free to ask any questions as we go. So thank you. I'll pass it over to Fred. Thanks.
Mr. Luna. Okay. First, I want to thank Margie, thank Public Works Director Maurer for his insight and appreciation of his recognition of the work that's gone in the corridor. Mr. Mayor and council members, it's good to be here again. I'm Fred Luna. I'm the Project Delivery Director at SBCAG, working closely with your staff. It's been a pleasure to do that. And Today, you'll hear, so we have a little outline of our presentation there. Many of those points have already been brought up, but the things that I'll just mention real quickly is that we'll do a progress update on where we are in the entire corridor, and specifically on what you will see with the pending construction starting in Santa Barbara, how we plan on securing funding for that last remaining segment. So it's exciting there for the Santa Barbara North segment. And the parallel projects, you'll hear an update from your staff on parallel projects, and then we're open to any questions you have. So real quickly, just on history related to 101, it really goes back to a renewal that started in 2006 with, you've all heard the 101 in Motion plan. That plan was a multimodal plan. That term wasn't used a lot back then, but it was really the first of its kind, and probably the first in the state, and it's been recognized as kind of the framework for what we've been doing in the corridor. We've been using that quite a bit. We've had to update it for funding applications, but the bones are essentially still there, and it provides that framework for how we're approaching congestion relief in the corridor, looking beyond just freeway expansion, but also programs and projects that, some of which you'll hear about today as far as the rail and transit components, and ultimately we came up with a moniker, a lane and a train. Next slide. Some of the things that are part of that multimodal vision are, that we see here are just things that resonate statewide now. We found that included in the multimodal plan, these types of things not only are part of state and local objectives, but they also help us be consistent with state funding guidelines. Overall, 101 in Motion had a multiple number of projects that were recommended, many of which were funded through Measure A, but also have been funded through state and federal opportunities that have come to the project team over the last decade or so. Next slide. Originally, Highway 101 was segmented into how do we address the overall 16-mile gap between Muscle Shoals in Ventura County and Milpa Street in the city of Santa Barbara. We split that project into 4 phases, SBK and Caltrans. 3 of those projects are complete, providing benefits to commuters and local communities. But the last project, which we call Phase 4, is located in blue on that map there. It's 11 miles from Carpinteria, Santa Barbara. And ultimately, that became what we know and what we introduced to the council today as the Highway 101 Carpinteria to Santa Barbara project, which was included in Measure A, and there was money set aside as a flagship project right off the top. Next slide. We knew this project, 11 miles, was going to take a number of years to complete. So providing a framework for how we were going to implement the project over time, I think was one of the more important things that was done by the project team. What you see here are guiding principles that were first included in the environmental document, but have been part of our implementation approach through various phases throughout the project, specifically acknowledging that every community is different and working within the policies and the community character. Coastal views are important. The entire stretch of the project runs along the coastal zone. The ability to widen the freeway without taking private property. There have been some easements required, but no private acquisitions. So that was important and quite a big change from on a proposal that was issued about 30 years ago. And having a broad stakeholder public input, not just in construction, but throughout the process, beginning in environmental, pre-construction, telling people what to expect, informing them of how the project's going to be implemented, and then continuing to inform them during construction. Next slide. So this slide is our original plan on how we segmented the project up into the Phase 4 project into 5 segments. You can see here that on the far left is the city of Santa Barbara, and then on the far right is the city of Carpinteria. And then there are 3 separate segments in the county. So we originally had 5 segments that we were implementing. Like I mentioned before, the entire 11 miles is in the coastal zone. We also run parallel to the Union Pacific Railway. We have multiple creek crossings that we have to make, many sensitive and resources that have to be accommodated. So the challenges with the project were great. And so one of the things that we looked at here is that each project, each local agency that's noted up here has their own coastal permitting authority. So that's one of the reasons why we segmented it into 5 separate segments, so that the county would have its own process for coastal permitting, the city of Carpinteria and the city of Santa Barbara. And as Executive Director Kern said, about a year ago, we were able to obtain our coastal development permit for the Santa Barbara segment. Next slide. So just honing in on what we see here is the Santa Barbara segment. So you'll notice that there's two shades here of yellow. On the far right, in the dark yellow or gold, is the Santa Barbara South segment. That's the one that Director Kern mentioned. We just recently got funded in 2023. And his work is going to be starting imminently. It's Sunday night. Work will be, there will be an update going out about some of the first startup work that Mr. Emerson will talk about. And we'll continue that for 2 years. That project has been planned and coordinated with the adjacent segments south in Montecito to maximize the traffic control and make sure that it minimizes disruptions to the traveling public. On the north end, that's the Santa Barbara North segment. Primarily included in that is the Cabrillo interchange. And that would be replacing that, adding the southbound on-ramp back at Cabrillo. And it is being done and planned very closely with improvements that the city is proposing at Cabrillo Railroad. And then the Los Patos, Ms. Grant will be talking about the Los Patos Cabrillo roundabout that was also part of that and adjacent to that to add better traffic flow while we're in construction with this project.
Mr. Luna, can you say southbound on-ramp one more time for me?
Southbound on-ramp.
Oh, God, thank you. Made my day.
And next slide. You've heard the word partnership used a lot, and you will today. I think it can't be understated that that we use that quite a bit. We've forged quite a strong partnership with city staff. We thank you for your leadership and getting this project to the point where it's at. Some of the things we want to mention to you, just so that you know how we're going to be working with your constituents, is that we have already conducted a number of community meetings related to the pending construction. That happened in May. We've sent out a community-wide construction brochure that hit mailing addresses throughout the corridor. We work with first responders. We've done business walks with community members, and so we have a strong PIO team out there to both inform people and, like I mentioned before, continue to advocate and send the message out of what we're really planning on doing so that they're aware and can plan accordingly. Next slide. So last slide for me, at least for in this phase, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on the timeline real quick. You can see on the top there, that's the Santa Barbara South segment. So we're starting in September, and that'll continue for a little over 2 years to be complete in 2026. What you don't see here is that the Montecito segments will also be complete in 2026. So those, like I mentioned before, have all been coordinated and will be open to the traveling public by the end of 2026. And then the Santa Barbara North segment, so that's the project that's still in design. SBCAG is using our local Measure A funds to advance the design. We've hired a consultant, so we're at 95% design. We've made great progress on that, and we plan on having the design finalized in about a year. And then in June of next year, you see here, and Sarkis will touch on that, our plan is if we're awarded funding, we can then start construction in the spring of 26 on that last segment, and that'll take at least a couple years after that. Next slide. And then I'll hand it off to Mr. Emerson right now, and he'll be talking about the specifics.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Mayor Rouse, members of the council, my name is Dave Emerson. I'm a project manager with Caltrans in District 5. I'm going to go over some of the specific features associated with the Santa Barbara segment, and then I'll peel off a little bit and focus on Santa Barbara South and talk about what you can expect construction-wise in the next 2 years, and then focus on the features in 4D North, and then I'll hand it over to Sarkis, who can talk about the funding proposals and how we're going to be seeking funding to get that project underway. So as you can see from this slide, you've got two images. The image up on top is the Santa Barbara South segment, and that extends from the Olive Mill overcrossing to the northbound Hermosillo off-ramp. And the major features there associated with this is one of the shorter segments in the corridor, a little over a half mile. It's 0.6 miles to be exact. And we will be adding 2 HOV lanes, which is kind of the corridor-wide model, and a median barrier as well. And additionally, we're going to be completely renovating the exterior 2 lanes. So when we're done, we will have 6 brand new lanes, 3 lanes in each direction of reinforced concrete pavement, which is a very durable, long-lasting pavement. It doesn't need constant reapplication of a wear course on top, HMA, that sort of thing. So there should be long-term minimization of the maintenance needs to get in there and do additional projects to rehab the pavement. In addition to that, you'll see the green. That's all of the landscaping areas that we plan to do as mitigation for the impacts that we have to the project and enhancements as well. So there's quite a substantial amount of landscaping. It's not available in every location, but where there are spaces available for planting, we're maximizing the amount of plants that we put in there. The other thing we're going to do is completely redo the 2 exterior ramps. So in the northbound, it's Hermosillo, and the southbound, it's Spring Road. Those ramps are going to be reconfigured, lengthened a little bit to modern standards so that deceleration lengths are achieved. And also on the southbound, you see in red there are 2 sound walls. So they're both on the southbound shoulder. One begins just south of Butterfly Lane pedestrian undercrossing, and that extends all the way to the end of Spring Road off-ramp. Towards the bottom southern half, you'll see it's checkerboarded with some blue, which is a retaining wall. So that indicates that the sound wall is on top of a retaining wall, which minimizes the amount of fill and tree removals and impacts to the neighboring properties there. The other sound wall extends between the Spring off-ramp and Olive Mill overcrossing, and it protects those residents behind that wall. That work is expected to start, actually it's scheduled to start this weekend. So we're going to start by putting out the construction area signs, putting up the temporary high visibility fence for trees that are being protected, and we're going to start doing tree removals. And so you're going to see some of that work happen at night, and that's simply because a lot of those trees are overhanging traffic. And we have, as was mentioned earlier, we have a commitment to keep 2 lanes open in both directions. So that means if we want to close a lane, we have to do it at nighttime. And so that means taking these trees down needs to happen at night. We have done extensive outreach to the residents within approximate 300 feet of the work. And we've held outreach and media blasts, that sort of thing. So although we don't expect it to be silent, people have been notified, and that's kind of a key tenet of this whole project, is maintaining open lines of communication so that people know what to expect and what's going on. The Santa Barbara North segment is focusing on the interchange, the Cabrillo interchange. Essentially what we're doing is taking the 2 left-hand ramps off and reestablishing the southbound on-ramp. So we will have a fully functional interchange here with 2 ramps in the northbound direction, an off and an on, and then 2 ramps in the northbound direction, an off and on. And to do that, we're going to have to move the entire freeway. So right now the freeway is on the exterior ramps and the median. We're going to push the freeway together and put those ramps on the exterior. So it'll be much more typical of a standard interchange. People will enter and exit the freeway in the slow lane, which is the safest possible configuration that we can have at this location. I also want to highlight that the northbound ramps terminate into a roundabout. And so that's going to be a feature that helps manage the traffic that congregates there. There's a lot of different movements, people coming from the Coast Village area, people heading towards the beach, people getting on the south. They'll be using this to get on the southbound on-ramp to 101, as well as the northbound. So that roundabout really helps to slow everything down and make it flow without stopping a lot of traffic. I think with that, I'll step in a little bit into the construction of Santa Barbara South. So if you can advance to the next slide. Okay, so this is the map that will be on our website. And if you haven't been yet, I would encourage all of you to go to sbroads.com. It has a detailed map like this for every segment, and then there's blow up and explanation about what's happening when. So you see the color bars there. We've got the years 24, 25, and 26. And then the map above corresponds to the color of which year that work will take place. So we're going to start by working in the median. This is very traditional how we approach these projects, is we get the median ready to hold traffic, and then we move the northbound lanes into that median and work on those northbound lanes. For that duration of about 5 months, we're going to have to close the Hermosillo off-ramp. So that ramp will be closed, and there'll be detours in place to accommodate the traffic. After that is done, we'll put the northbound traffic back on the finished northbound lanes and move the southbound lanes into the median. That duration is a little bit longer. That's an 8-month duration. And for that duration, the Spring Road off-ramp will be closed. And that's longer because of the amount of retaining walls and sound walls that are going in with that project. And then once that southbound lanes are complete, traffic will move back on the southbound, the median will be complete, and then the project will be finished. And that's expected to take place late in 2026. Next slide, please. So here's a blow-up of the Cabrillo interchange. The main structures are there, but they're highlighted. It's mostly focusing on the road underneath. But in coordination with a lot of our design reviews, and we've been very appreciative of city staff, city architectural board of review, and our design review committee that was assembled specifically for this project. We moved those bridges together, but it's not one single bridge. It's two distinct separate bridges with some light space in between so that natural light can cast down on Cabrillo Boulevard below from the sidewalks and the travel lanes and the bike paths. And we've also enhanced the landscaping to the degree that we can. You know, this interchange is notable for its mature vegetation, and so we've got a desire to reestablish that when we're done with the project. I highlighted a little bit before about the roundabout, and you can see here how the splitter islands work to help slow traffic down and orient people to the direction they want to go. You can see there's a sidewalk on either side of the undercrossing, on either side of Cabrillo Boulevard, and one of them is a 12-foot wide multi-use trail. Next, I'm going to zoom into some simulations focusing on the southbound side first. So there's an off-ramp and an on-ramp, and if we can go to the next slide, this location where the simulations are taken is actually where the freeway is now. So you can see the freeway's moved over in that slide to the left. It's moved over to the right a little bit. And there's a retaining wall. Because we have some grade changes in this segment, there will be some retaining walls. These retaining walls were designed with the help of the Architectural Review Board, and they match other features in the city, such as the cut sandstone textures and the colors. And then, of course, on top there is our wood beam barrier, which is kind of a hallmark of the corridor, shall we say. It's one of the unifying elements throughout the corridor. Every interchange has its own unique flair, but we've got these continuous elements that kind of link the whole project together. So, and then of course, the lush vegetation, that is acknowledged as our number one aesthetic treatment that we have, really, is vegetation. So the image to the right is then looking up at the brand new southbound on-ramp. And you can see this is going to be a signalized intersection. The signals have the city standard lighting and the standard color that we use in the city of Santa Barbara, as well as the landscape planting. Again, this southbound on-ramp is really going to help operations, especially on Coast Village Road. Okay, this slide is from the roundabout on the northbound ramp. So this one on the left is looking from the roundabout, looking under the structure towards the Los Patos roundabout, which is under construction right now. And I just want to focus again on the amount of complete street elements that we have in place here. There's sidewalks, bike lanes, there's a multi-use trail, and then of course the lanes themselves. And here you can see the treatments and aesthetic planting that is used, and this mirrors very closely what happens at the Los Patos roundabout. So they're really intended to operate as one or look like one seamless project. The slide to the right is the same area, just backed up a couple hundred feet, and you can see how this roundabout works with the two ramps. There's the northbound on-ramp in the distance there, and the retaining wall that's holding up Old Coast Highway. So with that, I'll pass it over to Sarkis, and you can talk about next steps for funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mayor, council members. My name is Sarkis Kacek, Director of Programming with SBCAG. So we are almost there. We talked about partnerships. We're thankful for your support along the way for the duration of this corridor. But thanks to your partnership, we've seen a lot of success, and we're building on that momentum to get to the finish line or the light at the end of the tunnel. We did want to thank not just your city council and your staff, but also thank you to the voters of the city of Santa Barbara for helping pass Measure A, our sales tax measure, which is acting as a leveraging tool for us in the toolbox. So where we are as of today is that we're working with Caltrans and the City of Santa Barbara staff on developing the final funding applications to submit to the state of California. The programs are through Senate Bill 1, and so we're going to be submitting those applications later this year, and I have an update on that I'll share in a minute. We also wanted to thank your city council and staff for the collaboration with Congressman Carbajal. We've been showing him a lot of the projects in the corridor, and we have some funding opportunities through congressional directed spending that we're hoping to hear about in January for Cabrillo and the Santa Barbara East Side active transportation improvement projects. In terms of Senate Bill 1, so they say timing is everything. So as of today, we heard some good news last week from Caltrans. When you are a partner with Caltrans on funding applications, you're a higher priority and have access to more funding. Last week, Caltrans selected our corridor as one of 2 corridors in the state for co-partnership on 2 of the funding programs. So this is a significant milestone for us. This is something that we've been able to secure in prior cycles, which has led to past success, and that's something we're looking forward to when we submit those applications later this year. So in terms of competitiveness, that partnership is number 1, so we're excited for that. Being shovel-ready, our projects are going to be ready for delivery in the first year of the funding programs. Leveraging SBCAG is using our Measure A funding as well as other regional funding supported by the SBCAG board as leveraging to make us more competitive. This is the final piece to the puzzle. And so completion of the corridor allows the state to see the full benefits with completing it. And as Mr. Luna mentioned, we do have alignment with state goals with our corridor, so we're really excited about that. Next slide, please. In terms of the funding application, the final package of application projects includes the Highway 101 4E North segment in Santa Barbara, which was just shared with you, the Cabrillo Boulevard Rail, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Improvement Project, the Santa Barbara East Side Active Transportation Improvement Projects, zero-emission vehicle charging at the Cabrillo Pavilion for City of Santa Barbara, and then finally, we're including zero-emission buses for Ventura County Transportation Commission for the Coastal Express service, which goes from Ventura County to Santa Barbara on a daily basis. So that service will also benefit from completion of the corridor. So with that, we're really thankful for the partnership, and we look forward to submitting the applications and hearing back from the state in later next year. Thank you. I'll hand it off to Jessica.
All right. So I am here to talk briefly about the parallel projects. Again, with the freeway, as you mentioned, there's a bunch of pieces of the puzzle. So with the focus with the freeway, but then how does the freeway interact with the local street network? So during the years of design for this project and environmental review, there was also some operational improvements that needed to happen to our local roadway network. So one of the parallel and mitigation projects was the Olive Mill Roundabout that was just recently constructed. We had the ribbon cutting earlier this year that changed a very awkward 6-lane intersection to a lovely roundabout now. So major traffic operations improvement in place, and we appreciate working with SBCAG and Caltrans to have these in place ahead of the freeway. And as you know, when we had the ribbon cutting for this, there was also the county's San Ysidro roundabout that was also paralleling this that also completed. Next slide. So currently under construction, this project has a very long name. It's the Pedestrian and Bicycle Improvements on East Cabrillo Boulevard and Replacement of the Union Pacific Railroad Bridge Project. So say that 10 times fast. But this project was broken up into phases. So the first phase was the Los Patos Cabrillo roundabout. That was another traffic operations improvement, and that's currently under construction. It does look like a roundabout now. We just need to install the rest of the splitter islands before it can officially function as a roundabout. The bulk of this construction will be completed this year, but construction will go into the early part of 2025, mainly for the landscaping. That's the last major improvements that will go on here. So the second phase of this project, that is the replacement of the Union Pacific Bridge over Cabrillo. And so that's the area, so highlighted in the blue is the roundabout area that's currently under construction. And so the phase 2 is the limits for the bridge replacement. And this is a very critical piece that needs to happen because with the whole operation improvements and new interchange at Cabrillo, and the roundabout, this is the piece that links them. And so this was a mitigation of the coastal development permit. And this is, again, as Mr. Kajak mentioned, this is also part of the SB1 Cycle 4 request to get this for construction funding. Next slide. And then the last parallel mitigation project is along Milpas Street. It's the lower parts of just south of the freeway here, is operational improvements that will be occurring at Milpas and the Hutash intersection. Again, traffic-related improvements, and really there's also improvements that you see a little bit in the just south of the freeway where we're extending that median. So the Milpas southbound will operate as a southbound exit, and the Milpas northbound off-ramp will focus as the officially northbound on-ramp. So this has been paired with several other city safety related projects that's currently out to bid right now. So as a package, you'll be seeing this in November to award the construction contract because it's paired with a lot of other city projects, again, to have good economies of scale. We will have a better idea of the sequencing of construction, but most likely you'll see this under construction in 2025. Again, these are all pieces of the puzzle. It's very close coordination we need to have with the SBK and Caltrans team as we're under construction with all these various pieces at the same time. Yes, and pass it back to Mr. Luna.
Okay, we're almost there, so just a few other slides. So we mentioned earlier as part of our 101 in motion lane and train approach that we wanted to give your council an update on the rail and transit improvements that are being going on in the corridor. Want to fast forward currently to today, and SBK is currently partnering with VCTC, the Ventura County Transportation Commission, to advocate and seek new opportunities to expand rail service. That would include working with LOSAN and entering into agreements to introduce new Metrolink peak hour rail service anticipated to start in the spring of 2025. Additionally, you heard that finishing up the Santa Barbara North segment and closing that 16-mile gap will provide 16 miles of HOV lanes in both directions. And so it's always been the vision and as part of this corridor to expand transit service, and that was a key component of 101 in motion. So expanding regional bus service and introducing the new zero-emission Coastal Express buses between Ventura and Santa Barbara, as was mentioned before, is currently planned, and that really will fully utilize those HOV lanes and provide that more comprehensive transportation network. Next slide. We wanted to finish up just by summarizing the benefits that the Santa Barbara segment is providing to the community. Really in three groups here, summarizing that we're adding safety, we're adding improving operations, and we're completing that 16-mile corridor. And so that will finish the project. It'll allow those completion of the HOV lanes, getting rid of those left-hand ramps and making, as Mr. Emmons said, making a more conventional interchange at Cabrillo Boulevard. Plus, we're also reconnecting communities, maybe historically, like by expanding the ped and bike networks and improving bike connections. And then just as an aesthetic note, in the overall landscape design, using native plants, improving and building upon lessons learned from previously on what types of plants, how to improve irrigation. And so we work really hard with your architectural teams, the design review teams, to come up with an overall strategy for sustainability of that plant material. Next slide. And so we wanted to emphasize how you and others can stay connected here. There's Mary Rouse. I mentioned before some of the public meetings that we've had. I think as construction starts, we really want to let you know that One of the tools that we use is these bi-weekly construction email updates. So encourage people that you know to sign up for those, and they will get an update of the construction work if they want to be informed of that work going on, and also the website, www.sbroads.com, is where they'll see all the information on detours, planned closures. Also, those construction updates are archived on there, and then some forward-looking items as well. And so with that, we'd like to close, and we're open to any questions, and we have our team members here to respond.
Okay, thank you very much. Got a question from Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stay right there. I just have one for you and one for staff. I've lived through 2 generations of planners on this, sitting in this chair in another role. So even all of our staff is different now. So are the Caltrans people, and so are the SBCAG. But I just want to make sure, I read what I read, but just make sure about the assurance of the connection of the underpass under the Union Pacific Railroad Bridge, that project is tied to the rest of the actual freeway work as closely as can be. They will go through the grant process together, they'll get awarded together, and the path you're on will comply with the freeway doesn't open unless those other mitigating projects are complete. Does all that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds as close as, we've collaborated very closely with city staff on that. They are separate projects. I think that's what you were alluding to. And they will be delivered separately. The interchange work by the Caltrans and SBCAG team, and then the city will do the Union Pacific. But we understand how they're inextricably linked, and both from the permitting standpoint, but also pragmatically, like Ms. Grant was saying, that we can't have that area at Cabrillo maintained at 28 feet when the roundabout's done and the interchange is done. So we're working hard to manage that. In fact, we've frequently just upgraded our number of meetings to coordinate with both design teams, just to improve that coordination. We meet on a monthly basis.
And does that co-partnership with Caltrans for 2 projects in the state, for the one for here in our state, does their co-partnership extend to the underpass project as part of the overall project? I see a nod behind you, so, okay.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Jordan. Yes, so we're submitting all those projects in one funding application to the state, and then the state will hopefully award all of the funding projects in that one grant together.
Right. Perfect, thanks. Then I have a question for staff, and kind of the caveat I'll give you is, this thing's been in the works for decades, and COVID, I'm sure, affected much of what we presumed would be on the roadway driving into town, employees driving into town or not going to work. But part of the mitigations we've chased are ones that we needed, but we're also probably unable to chase mitigations at other places where we know where we're increasing the funnel coming into town, where we already have troubles at underpasses like Castillo or Carrillo, that are basically bottlenecks on the intersections that are owned by Caltrans, but the city networks, because you can't let cars back up onto the freeway for hundreds of feet when they need to get off. And so you end up stopping the street traffic to accommodate those cars getting off faster. Are there plans to help with any of that? I assume, my sense is I know when not to come under the Carrillo underpass morning and night, and I know when City College gets out and don't dare go down Cliff Drive and try and go under the Castillo one. But are there methods to improve that we know are bad already and are probably going to get a little worse now that we're increasing the funnel coming into town?
Council Member Jordan, through the mayor, I could spend hours on the response.
We've probably spent hours
yes,
together.
And the short answer is yes, it's on our radar. And As you know, I think earlier this year, we just had a recent update to the city's traffic-wide travel model. And so that's something that we look at every probably 5 to 7 years. And yes, we do have bottlenecks at a lot of the freeway interchanges from all sort of all road users' perspective. And as you know, there are certain that we've kept as policy for traffic for private development, where no private development contributes more than 1% of traffic to an impacted intersection. So there's limitations when it's mainly at a non-residential focus, because of course we need the housing coming, so we have less commuters. So that's sort of the shorter answer. No major freeway improvements on the radar. Again, it's trying to just look at our local development controls.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Sneddon.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. I'll save my comments for after, but just questions. So most of this is just confirming. So the lane and the train. What I think I'm hearing is we'll be applying for the funding in the cycle 4. And if that doesn't happen, do we still get the lane just with a different funding?
Okay, the lane and the lane, I'll start with the lane.
I mean the train, I'm sorry.
Oh, the train, okay.
The train,
So
the train.
I wanted to clarify that
Do we
first.
still get the train? We've
So
got
the
the lane.
train is
Yeah.
separately funded. It's not part of that Cycle 4 package. So all the work that I mentioned, and I'm looking in the audience, will continue absent that award of funding. So we've made efforts previously in the corridor on the train, and that has also been separately funded. And I forgot to mention previously, but you probably know, we have Measure A funding that we are using as, matching funding for those initiatives. So.
Thank you. Let me back up and ask the question again, because I think I said the wrong words. For the train portion, is that funded and expected to be completed by 2026, or is that a later cycle?
The current initiative, and I'm going to look to perhaps Aaron.
We can bring.
It's what was 2025, and yeah, I think we have a funding plan to get that done.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm glad I asked to clarify. Thank you. And then I just want to confirm the southbound 101 on-ramp will be complete end of 2026?
The southbound on-ramp is part of Santa Barbara North, and so that'll be starting construction in 2026,
Okay.
Just to get a little bit specific, if you really want to know, and Mary
I
Ross
really
is
wanna
probably
know.
very
We
interested
really wanna
as well,
know.
is that'll be part of the first 2 stages of construction, the ramp construction. So within the first 2 years, it should be built if we get funding and start construction. So we expect that to be operational by 2028.
Okay, that's really, really fantastic news, really. And then who maintains the landscaping? Is that Caltrans or is?
So the landscaping in the Santa Barbara South segment is primarily in the Caltrans right-of-way, so that'll be maintained by the state. And then the landscaping in the Cabrillo interchange is split. So there will be there'll be landscaping that's installed in the Caltrans right-of-way, and also landscaping installed in the city right-of-way. And so that'll be part of a freeway maintenance agreement that will be worked out, let's just say.
So that will be worked out. Okay,
Yeah.
that's my question there too. And-
Councilmember Sneddon, if I could add to that as well, is when we were going through all the planning effort, a lot of the freeway maintenance agreements really date back to the 1970s. And so as certain segments become realized, we're updating the freeway maintenance agreements along with this process.
Thank you, because I think I understood there was some question about that, so I wanted to follow up. And then last question, does the Hermosillo off-ramp come back, or it's just there's the closure date and then that's that?
So Hermosillo is the off-ramp that is in the northbound direction that goes into Coast Village Road. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So that doesn't go away. It will be improved. So right now, as you're coming northbound, it might come upon you, the exit, fairly fast, so there'll be a new deceleration lane. It'll be lengthened to allow people to get over, and then more time to decelerate onto the ramp and then get onto Coast Village Road. That'll be used as an alternate route when ramps are reconstructed in the interchange work, and so we do want to and will keep that in place.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, very good. This was information item, so no action to be taken. Thank you so much to the SBCAG staff for coming in and presenting. Do you have some other comments you'd like to make? There's no action, so you can comment away.
Thank you. Sorry, I was saving my
Just
comments.
make sure
I
you
wasn't
mention
sure
the
if-
southbound on-ramp for your district.
Oh, yes.
That's really important.
I'm mentioning it over and over and over, the southbound on-ramp. So a few comments, just, it looks beautiful. And I think a lot of people were so skeptical with this project starting, and seeing the renderings is really helpful. But already the roundabouts are so beautiful and functional, have really changed. And even that at the East Cabrillo roundabout, and it's, already has improved things so much. And so as we're seeing them, I just want to really compliment the whole team and the landscaping, the stonework, the thoughtfulness of the design elements, I think really suit the area it's coming through. Love that are adding EV charging and the EV bus, and just the Milpas is going to be a really welcome change there to that on-ramp, which is so confusing as it is right now. And well, yeah, just congratulations. Oh, one more thing. The website is phenomenal. It has so much information on it. And I refer to it regularly, tell people to refer to it. And also the informational emails have really helped ease the public and to look forward to what's coming. So really, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you pull up slide 16 real quickly, please? I just want to say, first of all, thank you to everyone for coming today, SBCAG, all of our staff, SBCAG staff, for putting this presentation together. I really learned a lot today. Like, for example, who knew that our mayor has Riz? And, but all jokes aside, it is important that when the public looks at 2028, it might seem like a long time away, but this has been a great progress in terms of moving this forward. For those who've been around a long time, Measure D, which was the original sales tax that the county had, was passed in 1989, and part of that was to do the 101 widening. And then back in around 2006 or so, the Measure D, they extended it, the voters extended it with the promise that it would get widened, and that's Measure A now. And through that, the local match has been important. We heard that today. Without the local match, this probably wouldn't, or it wouldn't be happening, not probably, it wouldn't be happening. And not only that, we're getting these ancillary projects, which will alleviate a lot of the congestion. And it's really a partnership between the city, the county, Caltrans, that is making this not only for traffic improvements on the 101, but on the side streets as well, because that will have an impact, especially as we're looking to the future of having more housing up here and continue to be a destination for employment up there. So really want to appreciate the level of detail today, but also keeping it at a level that's easy to understand, the charts, the timelines. It's important for all of us to understand those. So and it's good to see some of my former colleagues when I worked at the county here today, and just really appreciate moving this forward. And we're almost there, just a few more years of a multi-decade project. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, is anybody online for this item?
No hands raised, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I will thank SBCAG and staff for coming in and presenting this with us. So thank you. Let's move on to the next item. If you'd item to read, please.
And
It's different than this.
Right. It's just a regular.
Mayor Rouse, if I could just provide some introductory comments as we're getting the PowerPoint pulled up. This item that is coming next on the agenda did get presented to Finance Committee earlier today. Staff will be doing an abbreviated presentation from the presentation that was presented at Finance Committee, and the two applicants are here and can make public comments, but will not be doing their full presentation as they did for Finance Committee. So just wanted to share that, but the slides about the two projects are included in the council's presentation packet. So just wanted to share process-wise what we're doing for this afternoon.
Thank you. Yeah, we will be opening this as a public hearing, having a staff presentation, then we will take public comment on it. Thank you.
And we do need to make a quick switch on the PowerPoint presentation, so if we could take a 5-minute recess while staff does that, that would be great.
Okay, we'll reconvene here at about 3:25, please. now, Madam Clerk, if you can read the next item into the record, please.
Certainly, this is item 14, a public hearing, and it's an authorization to apply for matching funds totaling $2.9 million from the state's local housing trust fund for affordable housing projects resolution, and recommendation that council B adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the council of the city of Santa Barbara authorized to act as manager of the city of Santa Barbara local housing trust fund, authorizing application to the California Department of Housing and Community Development local housing trust fund for matching funds of $2,900,000. C, adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the council of the city of Santa Barbara authorized to act as manager of the city of Santa Barbara local housing trust fund, amending resolution number 23076, adopting the budget for fiscal year 2024 to approve an increase in fiscal year 2024 expenditure appropriations in the Community Development General Fund in the amount of $500,000, and approve an increase in fiscal year 2024 revenue appropriations in the Local Housing Trust Fund in the amount of $500,000, funded by inclusionary housing in lieu fees, to provide the Local Housing Trust Fund with ongoing revenues sufficient to pay for the trust fund's operating costs of a minimum of 5 years after the date of a program award. And D, adopt by reading of title only a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara authorized to act as manager of the City of Santa Barbara Local Housing Trust Fund, adopting the 2017 California Code of Regulations, Title 25, Division 1, Chapter 7, Subchapter 19, commencing with Section 8300, Uniform Multifamily Regulations, as the underwriting guidelines for the City of Santa Barbara Local Housing Trust Fund.
Thank you, and this is a public hearing, so we'll open it up with a staff presentation followed by comments from the public, and then questions from council and comments from the public. Okay, very good. Ms. Doubles.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse and City Council members. I am Laura Doubles. I'm the Housing and Human Services Manager for the city. Thank you for having us here today to present to you the City of Santa Barbara Local Housing Trust Fund's selected projects and requesting authorization to apply for matching funds totaling $2.9 million from the state's Local Housing Trust Fund program for the affordable housing projects. Council adopted ordinance number 6138 back on January 23rd of this year, which established the City of Santa Barbara's Local Housing Trust Fund, and the fund's purpose is to leverage locally generated dollars for the production and preservation of affordable housing units. 2 months ago, on July 9th, the state Housing and Community Development Department, otherwise known as HCD, released a Notice of Funding Availability, which we call a NOFA, for its 2024 Local Housing Trust Fund program. It announced that approximately $53 million was available. And the good news is that the state was going to set aside 15% of these funds for new local housing trust funds, which is what we have here in Santa Barbara. If awarded, applications are matched with dollar-for-dollar funding provided to local housing trust funds that have been established by cities and/or counties. The program funds shall be used to provide construction and/or permanent financing loans at 3% simple interest for a variety of affordable housing eligible activities. The Santa Barbara's Local Housing Trust Fund balance is currently approximately $2.9 million that can be provided for matching funds. If our application is awarded, and after 5% of the program funds and 5% of the matching funds is subtracted for allowable administrative costs, the total funding that can be provided to these eligible affordable housing projects is $5,510,000. The state requires applicants follow the public vetting process as required by state law to select eligible projects. The state's NOFA awards points under a readiness category, which requires a public vetting process. In order to conform, the city issued its own NOFA and request for proposals, or an RFP, on August 2nd with a deadline of 4 p.m. on August 23rd. And I'm pleased to announce that the city received 2 eligible project proposals in response to the RFP. The Community Development RFP Committee reviewed both of those proposals and recommends splitting the funding equally between the 2 and submitting both projects in the application to the state's NOFA by the deadline of 4 p.m. on September 17th, which is this next Tuesday. The proposed projects are 15 South Hope, presented by the Housing Authority of the City of Santa Barbara, and Carrillo Street Apartments, which is from People's Self-Help Housing. Both of these projects present excellent opportunities to increase much-needed affordable housing in our community. If we are awarded, our local funds in the Santa Barbara Local Housing Trust Fund will be leveraged into projects with estimated costs totaling almost $100 million. And more importantly, approximately 100 new affordable housing units will be built to house lower-income households at or below 60% AMI here in the city of Santa Barbara. Over half of the units proposed will be restricted even further to extremely low income at or below 30% AMI. Each of these projects will set aside units for special needs housing, a critically underserved population. Both project developers are longtime city partners that we've had many, many years of experience with, and both have excellent histories in developing, managing, and operating many affordable housing properties here in the city. The first project is from our Housing Authority of the City of Santa Barbara, and Mr. Rob Fredericks, the Executive Director, is here in the audience today if there's any questions. This project is 15 South Hope, and it is a new construction project. It offers 46 total new units with 17 studios, 13 one-bedrooms, and 16 two-bedrooms, with one being a manager's unit. There are 13 units restricted to low at 60% AMI, 14 units to low at 50% AMI, and 18 units restricted to extremely low at 30% AMI. They will offer on-site supportive services free of charge to all the residents, and those are funded by their operations. This will also be a low-income housing tax credit project with serving special needs. And the project will reserve 23 or 50% of those units for special needs households. Their definition for special needs is individuals with developmental, physical, and or mental health disabilities. There will be a common area and meeting space to accommodate service provision. There will also be laundry room with 4 washers and 4 dryers, a central elevator to serve the 4 floors, and the rents will be subsidized by project-based Section 8 for 100% of the residential units, which will really help to allow those households to stay in their units. There will be 20 parking spaces at grade level and 46 bicycle parking stalls. They are in an excellent location with proximity to MTD bus stops, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, CVS Pharmacy, and many other shopping and restaurants, entertainment avenues. Their sources and uses are coming up here, and this is a line description of their uses. The land cost is $5.4 million. Construction costs are estimated, direct costs at $30 million. Soft costs are $3 million, and a developer fee of $2.8 million, which the Housing Authority uses to fund future more affordable housing projects. The total for this project is $41,200,000. And the sources are here on the screen. They will be getting a permanent loan for a little over $12.3 million. with our local housing trust fund and the state match of 2.755, and they are deferring a greater portion of their deferred developer fee. They also will be applying for low-income housing tax credits, and they still do have a funding gap of 2.7 that they will be looking into filling. The total comes to $41,200,000. And this is a map of the area where the project is located. You can see at the middle of the screen, the little red dot. That is the location of the 15 South Hope project. And this shows a 1/4 and half-mile radius map with some of the amenities nearby that people that are living there can easily access to use by walking or, transportation that's public as well. And here is an estimated project timeline. One very important detail about this project is that the Housing Authority was able to acquire this property with the plans already in place. However, they are in process right now of making some revisions. So they expect in January 2025 for the building permits to be approved for this. And then if they do receive the low-income housing tax credit award, that we could be having the construction start September 2025 with an ultimate certificate of occupancy and project completion in May of 2027. And here are some renderings of what the project will look like. And the next project is from People's Self-Help Housing. Ms. Veronica Garcia, the Chief Real Estate Development Officer, is here in the audience if you should have any questions. This is the Carrillo Street Apartments project. A little bit about People's Self-Help Housing. They were actually founded in 1971. That's a correction. They are a 501c3 organization and a certified CHODO. They have corporate offices in Oxnard, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo. They have 57 acquired, newly constructed affordable rental properties and over 1,200 for sale affordable homes that they've developed. They serve over 5,000 residents. They have over 220 employees, and they are considered a one-stop shop, developer, general contractor, service provider, and property manager. And here is a map of the properties that they have in the city of Santa Barbara. There's 7 properties that have 228 units. However, they have 1,649 on their wait list waiting for more affordable units. The project concept is 65 new apartments, 20 studios, 42 one-bedrooms, 3 two-bedrooms, and one of those being a manager unit. This is a 100% affordable project. 33 units would be restricted to extremely low at 30% AMI, 20 units at low, 50% AMI, 11 units at low at 60% AMI. They will be serving special needs populations, and supportive services would be provided on site as well. The location is shown on the map on the screen here. There are 4 parcels that will make up this project. The fourth parcel in the back is the parking spaces, and those will remain. The third parcel has the structures that will be demolished for this project. The front unit that's closest to West Carrillo Street has 8 units currently, with 1 being an office, so 7 households, as well as 2 households in the back house unit, And then at the alleyway, there is a parking garage that will all be demolished for this project to be built. The site is very centrally located, it's a really nice area, of course, for this housing development, as it's very close to and in the downtown region, close to many different amenities they can access. The on-site amenities include supportive services, a street-facing community room, an on-site property manager, 3 offices for management and services, a central courtyard, the second floor deck, and open space. They will also have an on-site laundry room with washer and dryers. They will keep the 8 alley access parking spaces, and they will offer high-speed internet throughout. And the surrounding amenities are on the screen here. The most mentionable one, of course, is the bus stop. The Carrillo and Bath Street bus stop is located right in the front of the property for easy public transportation access. And the project budget is on the screen here. The land and the holding costs is a little over $7.5 million. Construction cost a little over $33 million. Development costs a little over $10 million, and financing costs and fees of almost $4 million, with a total of $55,252,462. And they anticipate their sources to be, they will also need a permanent loan for a little over $14 million, the local housing trust fund money from this application. They have been in talks with the county for home funding from them at $2 million. They will also be seeking any other impact fee loans or other local matches. They also will be applying for the low-income housing tax credits in this project as well. Also searching to see if they could get some other funding through the other programs that are out there, the mental health program and HHAP. And then they also have a limited partner contribution for this project, which is a little over $23 million. They anticipate that they will have good tiebreaker points for the low-income housing tax credit by it being in the Central Coast region, and also having a certain amount set aside for special needs. The proposed timeline is important because the city's funding will be used for the actual acquisition of the property. So they have an option period that will start that will give them 12 months in order to actually acquire that site. So the city's funding, if we are awarded, would be going to acquiring that site and then restricting it with a affordability covenant on the property. They expected to try to get their local approvals around November 2025. All of these dates can be moved forward somewhat depending on how these processes go. They are also going to be looking into securing their other funding sources and hopefully submitting that tax credit application February 2027. However, they said that they could possibly do that even ahead of time if things go more quickly. So in worst case scenario, I guess we could say the occupying and construction completion would be January 2030. So the Santa Barbara Local Housing Trust Fund and the HCD Local Housing Trust Fund program both contribute to the city's goals that we have in the general plan housing element. The Goal 8 says to fund affordable housing, Policy 8.1, which states identify new funding sources and strategies to support affordable housing. The establishment of the new City of Santa Barbara Local Housing Trust Fund has allowed the city the opportunity to apply for the state's local housing trust fund program for matching funds. And if our application is awarded, funds will be matched dollar for dollar through the program, which will greatly leverage the $2.9 million the council set aside in the Santa Barbara Local Housing Trust Fund, and it will assist with approximately $100 million in development costs. These two project proposals will provide approximately 100 new affordable housing units for lower income households here in the city. The next few slides has the staff recommendation. It's very verbose, so I won't go through word for word. I'll just click through here. Most of these are requirements from the state for us to submit an application. And with that, it concludes my presentation. Both Mr. Fredericks and Ms. Garcia are here, as well as I am, for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to council for questions. Ms. Sneddon.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. Just a couple, I'll save my comments for later, but just a couple clarifying questions. So these funds will be kept by the applicants whether or not they receive the matching funds or some of these other funds that they're applying for. Once we disperse these funds, they're for that project and we wouldn't take them back.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse and Council Member Sneddon. So depending on if we were to get awarded or not. So if we get awarded, then those funds are basically given to us. We do the underwriting and the loan agreements with these developers for their projects. If we don't get funded, if we don't, get approved for our application or awarded, then we do have the ability to reapply next year for the funding again. And that would be mostly what we would recommend doing.
And would that come back to council again, or would that be the assumption that we would reapply those same funds?
We would come back to council again because every cycle for the application process, we would need authorization to apply as well as the resolutions to be, adopted.
Okay, so we would be approving these on the condition that those matching funds were approved?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then I just want to confirm that this would deplete the local housing trust fund?
Yes.
And then, but if we replenished these funds in some way, then those replenished funds could be used in this same way. With this could be an example of how matching funds could be used.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Rouse and Council Members Sneddon. It can be used in the same way, not for these same projects per se, like this year. We can't add it right now and say, oh, okay, we have like more money now, can you match that? We're kind of stuck with, okay, we have 2.9 right now that we're eligible for right now. Okay. Now, in the future, if we do get more funding, and these do get awarded, we can always do more projects then in the future.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, we do have a couple of public comments on this. Start out with Veronica Garcia.
Hi, good afternoon. Veronica Garcia, Chief Real Estate Development Officer for People Self-Help Housing. I just wanted to say thank you to council and to staff for your creativity in establishing the Housing Trust Fund and for supporting both projects. For People Self-Help, we've developed housing in the city of Santa Barbara. We have 7 currently that we operate. But land values are a significant barrier to entry for any developer looking to provide affordable housing. So your support on this particular project can help the city and peoples get access, get land, because without the land, we can't provide this scale of affordable housing. So just wanted to say thank you for your support and I'm available if there are any follow-up questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob Fredericks.
Good afternoon, Mayor Rouse and council members. Rob Fredericks, Housing Authority of the City of Santa Barbara. As Ms. Garcia thanked you, I also want to thank the council and my city colleagues, my colleagues at the city, for establishing the Local Housing Trust Fund. So important that we had that established, because look what it's enabling us to do. And you've heard me and others come before you before about the power of our leveraging local dollars in order to build affordable housing. And just look what $2.9 million is going to get us. 100 units of deed-restricted, low-income, affordable housing. So thank you for considering this. I appreciate it, and the Housing Authority appreciates it as well. And if you have any other questions, I'm here. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Further, okay, so we'll come back to council. Go ahead, Mr. Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, want to thank our two partners for having these great projects. That'll mean a lot for everyone. And echo Mr. Frederick's comments about the value of the Local Housing Trust Fund and the leveraging that it's done. And looking back at my time on council, it may be the most significant piece of policy legislation that we collectively passed. And it's testament to the full council, the Planning Commission as well, and to see what we can do. And one of the projects in particular, the South Hope project with the Housing Authority, that project was an approved project before the Housing Authority took control of that parcel. And it was 45 units of market rate housing through the AUD program when it was first started, and that was before there was inclusionary. And so they didn't even have the 10% that we have on there. So to have something that changes it from zero affordability to the entire project's affordable speaks to the power of this and the need for it. So I'll be happy to support this going forward. And again, thanks to our staff as well for working on these. And lastly, the splitting up between two applicants will actually doubles the amount of affordable housing that we'll be able to get out of it. So we're really strategically using our resources for it. So thanks again to everyone.
Very good. Ms. Sneddon.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. I am really excited about authorizing the application for matching funds. This was the whole reason for creating the Local Housing Trust Fund for affordable housing. And again, I'd really like to acknowledge Councilmember Harmon for being so careful in the wording of the title of this fund. And it's because of that, and then working through City Attorney Sarah Connect and the Ordinance Committee, and really the careful crafting of the language so that we could be in this position to be able to apply for these matching funds. So really want to acknowledge that. And this is the whole point, is for that leveraging of the funds. I think it's really important that we also keep in mind how to replenish these funds, because that was also an important part of the motion as initially set forward by Councilmember Harmon, that we identify a permanent funding source for that. So I just want to keep reminding us of that as well, even though I know we're all aware. I'm also really pleased that the NOFA resulted in more than one really strong application, because that shows that the process was transparent, available. It's really gratifying to see that with this little bit of help that we can get approximately 100 new affordable housing units. So, and really in relatively short period of time from when this was first mentioned to when it was in our housing element, and then getting to this point where the funds could be dispersed and getting this moving is just really exciting. So I will also be supporting this, and well done, really well done.
Thank you. Ms. Harmon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much, Councilmember Sneddon. That's really kind of you. I'm going to make the same comments that I made at the Finance Committee, albeit somewhat abridged. And gratifying is the word that I used earlier. Councilmember Sneddon used it, and I have to use it again today. I mean, it is so rare to have the opportunity to have a kernel of an idea and work with colleagues and have our incredibly capable and committed staff take it up and run with it, and to have local advocates and experts get engaged. I mean, just a perfect storm of commitment and excitement and everybody rowing in the same direction. And to have it actually happen, to go from the idea to the effectuated practice, is a really monumental thing, and something that's very, very exciting. And everything that's already been said, I just have to echo. I mean, we are getting affordable housing units out of what was just an idea that we all shared, that we all contributed to, that we all prioritized over the last year. So this is a really big moment, and I can't wait to continue to have these conversations. Honestly, looking forward to the moment when it's not even really remarkable that we're signing off on these. And that's what I anticipate for this fund. That's the goal that I have for the next 2 years. I don't even want to have to say anything, because we're doing this so often, and so often finding opportunity to leverage city money to get more affordable housing in our community. And I'm so grateful that so many of us share that goal, and we're seeing the fruits of what I know was quite a lot of labor from a lot of people, but really appreciate it, and I think our whole city is the better for it. So thank you.
Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just echo, these are both great projects. Contextually, I know Rob knows this for sure, the South Hope one is probably 10 years ago sitting here. It was an approved condominium, market rate condominium project. So you've resurrected that one from something that was not as good as this and will be much better. So however painful that pathway was for that original project. But and then the Carrillo Street one, too, just kind of have a connection there. I know because I'd yell at Rob every time I drive by. I go, and we both know it's a multi-generational orthopedic surgeon family. I can call Dr. Dan and tell him thank you, but that's a great, I know one of those parcels at least, that's a great lot to pick up. Both of these projects put extremely needed, extremely low housing in the right place, right in the middle of the city with the rest of us, and right where the services are around them. So frequently, sometimes the best options end up not really right in the middle of everything, and so it's kind of cool. I would expect you both to expect the city to carry its weight in your process, and not hear you stand up 10 years from now and say, oh, this really bogged down with the city. Pick up the phone, ask somebody sitting up here to coffee, and say you're having a problem in real time, and ask for the political help to support what we say we will for our goals to get through the process quickly and affordably. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, very good. Well, if there are no further questions, I will entertain somebody crafting a motion.
Be happy to move staff recommendation.
Okay, and when you say staff recommendation, do you mean as listed? A, B, C, and D?
All parts.
All parts, and that's what the seconder says as well? All right, very good. Any further discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you would, please.
Okay, this is item 14, and also just noting for the record, there were no online public comment for this item either. And so for item 14, we have a motion by Councilmember Harmon, seconded by Councilmember Friedman for the entirety of the staff recommendations. Go ahead and vote, please.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. Well done. Okay, very good. Move on to the big item. Madam Clerk, if you'd read this into the record, please. And
Certainly. We will be, and I believe you might I'll read the item, and then I believe you'll make some statements.
Yeah, I'm going to make the announcement about the. Yeah.
Perfect. Item 15, debt issuance for the police station and Dwight Murphy Field renovation, ordinance introduction and resolution. For City Council, the recommendation is the council introduce and subsequently adopt by reading of title only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Santa Barbara authorizing the execution and delivery by the city of a ground lease, a lease agreement an indenture, and a continuing disclosure agreement in connection with the issuance of Finance Authority of the City of Santa Barbara lease revenue bonds, public safety and park projects, Series 2024, approving the issuance of such bonds in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $135 million, authorizing the distribution of an official statement in connection with offering and sale of such bonds, and authorizing the execution of necessary documents and certificates and related actions, and the Finance Authority Board recommendation that the Board of Directors of the Finance Authority of the City of Santa Barbara adopt by reading of title only, and after holding a noticed public hearing, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Finance Authority of the City of Santa Barbara authorizing the execution and delivery of the ground lease, a lease agreement, and an indenture in connection with the issuance of the Finance Authority of the City of Santa Barbara lease revenue bonds, public safety and park projects, Series 2024, authorizing the issuance of such bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $135 million, authorizing the distribution of an official statement in connection therewith, and authorizing the execution of necessary documents and certificates and related actions.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I will convene the Finance Authority of the Santa Barbara City Council, which is the same body as the Santa Barbara City Council. I'm going to open this hearing, and with that, we will take the staff presentation, followed by by council questions and public comment. So with that,
excellent.
Mr. DiMartini.
Good afternoon, Mayor Rouse, members of the City Council, and members of the Board of Directors of the Finance Authority. My name is Keith DiMartini. I'm the Finance Director for the City of Santa Barbara, and I also serve as the Treasurer of the Finance Authority. I'm here with Ms. Natalie Licoli, the city's controller. It is our pleasure to present an overview of the proposed debt issuance for the new police station and the Dwight Murphy Field. The agenda before you today is to first hear the recommendation to the Council and the Finance Authority Board. We will provide a brief project overview of both projects. We'll talk about the funding source for the debt issuance, which is the Measure C district sales tax, measure that was approved by the voters back in 2017. We will then provide an overview of the financing that is proposed for both projects. We'll talk about the budget impact. We'll then talk about the financing closing schedule, and then hear your questions, public comment, and discussion. The recommendation that is before the City Council is here today, as the clerk just read into the record. There is an introduction of an ordinance to authorize the debt issuance. And then there is a recommendation to the Finance Authority, which is the legal authority to actually issue the debt, which is adopting a resolution. So first, let's talk about the police station. This picture is a rendering of the new proposed police station. And this slide represents many of the attributes and benefits that the community should receive from the construction and implementation of this new project. It is proposed $65,000 square foot new police station, which will house all of the department operations that are currently dispersed in multiple locations into one location for better efficiency in operations. There will be secure parking for their fleet for personal vehicles. There will be a shooting range for training and certifications. There will be simulation rooms and other training areas. There will be a fitness center and an open locker area. There will be multiple community meeting and other types of rooms for programming and other functions. The total project budget for this project is just over $103 million, and the anticipated completion date of this project will be around March of 2027. The next project that is being proposed for funding through this debt issuance is the Dwight Murphy Field, and this picture is a rendering of what the design looks like for that project. This slide lists some of the major attributes associated with this project, which includes a full-scale renovation of the 8.3-acre existing park. It includes a multi-sport synthetic turf field, which includes lighting. There will be an outdoor gym, natural open space, a universally acceptable playground. There will also be fully accessible restrooms and walkways, a parking lot, street right-of-way improvements. This project is being proposed to be implemented in collaboration with the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation, which has already pledged $6.7 million of funding towards this project, as well as a federal grant that the city has received for $1.5 million. So the debt issuance amount will be the remaining amount required to be able to move forward with this project. The total project budget is $27 million, and the anticipated completion date is March of 2026. Now let's talk about how this debt issuance is to be funded. Measure C, the district sales tax that was approved by the voters back in 2017, is the proposed funding source. And the list on the left-hand side shows the funding allocations that was included in the actual ballot measure in 2017. And you can see that the bullet points listed here include police and emergency response, as well as parks services. The list on the right-hand side is the resolution that the City Council approved back in February of 2018, which articulated the priorities of funding for the first 5 years of implementation of Measure C sales tax revenues. And as you can see, the planning for and the permitting and bonding of the new police station was listed first, but you can also see that community projects, including parks, was also listed on this priority list. The City Council adopted another resolution back in December of 2023, articulating the priorities for the next 5 years of implementation. And as you can see on this list, again, includes prioritizing funding for the police station, as well as community projects such as city parks. So using Measure C for the debt issuance for these projects is directly in line with how the voters approved of that measure back in 2017 and was reaffirmed by the City Council twice by subsequent resolutions. The financing team is listed here. It's a very complex, large effort to secure financing for such a large amount for this project. Advising staff across multiple city departments was first our municipal financial advisors, that is KNN. They serve as our main advisors, and they act as a fiduciary to the city. In other words, they have the city's best interest in mind. They work for us. They ensure that we are getting the best deal and that we are meeting all the requirements. Next, we work with bond counsel, and that is ORIC. And Mr. Kevin Hale, our bond counsel, will present the financing structure to you in just a few moments. They serve as bond disclosure and tax counsel, and they prepare all of the legal documents, including the official statement that is attached to your council agenda report today in order to be able to issue the debt. Next, our trustee is U.S. Bank. That is the city's bank. They actually receive and distribute proceeds of the debt. So they hold the cash, and then they will distribute accordingly as work commences on both of the projects. And they effectively enforce the terms of all the legal agreements associated with the issuance. And then finally, we do work with credit agencies. The city will embark on getting 2 agency credit ratings, both from S&P and from Moody's. And the purpose of that is to allow the investment community to assess the creditworthiness of our organization. Effectively, are we going to make due on our required debt service payments? They will give us a rating, and that will be part of the issuance to the investment community. So now I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Kevin Hale, our outside bond counsel, who will provide a brief overview of the legal documents that are before you today.
Good evening, members, Mr. Mayor, Chair. It's been ORIC's pleasure to be the city's bond counsel for many years now. The documents before you, they're extensive, but they should be familiar. This follows a previous financing practice of the city. It dates back to the airport financing. It's substantially borrowed from that model. You have a different financing authority this time. Essentially, it's a lease and lease back of the property that will be the site of the police station, and then a rental stream that is made available to a bond trustee through an indenture. That indenture provides for the payment stream to investors in your bonds, and an official statement and a preliminary form of that is the document by which the bonds will be sold. I'd be happy to take any questions at the end here that you might have about the particulars here. And Mr. Mayor and Madam Clerk, if I could make one procedural request. It is the city that is going to be hosting and taking comments at the public hearing rather than the authority. So I know this is a joint session, but if we could be clear that it is the city that is considering those public comments, if any. That's what I have, Keith.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hale. I appreciate that. So moving on to slide 13. Just make sure I'm on the right slide. Okay, so let's talk about the budget implications to the city's general fund by the issuance of the debt. So first, the table on the left-hand side itemizes the major components of the debt issuance, which is a maximum amount of issuance of $135 million. The largest component of that is the project fund. So that will be the funds that will be used to pay for all of the construction contracts and all of the costs associated with constructing both projects. Because we're issuing debt, we will be paying interest, and so the approximate amount of interest to be paid is just over $15 million. And then there is a reserve fund, again, just set up in case of things that come up, such as other types of events. There is a cost of issuance, so we do have to pay for our outside bond counsel, we have to pay for our advisors, we have to pay for the underwriter. There are a number of expenses just associated with the process of issuing debt. And then there's a contingency for market. And so if there are changes in the interest rate environment, this is our best projection at this time of what these planned expenses are to be. But if there are potential changes in the interest rate environment, we want to make sure that we are able to account for that. And so that's how we get to the total cost of issuance of $135 million. What that means for us on an annual operating budget basis is that it will be around an $8 million expense that the city will have to pay as an annual lease payment obligation over the next 30 years. So this is a long-term commitment of paying debt service for 30 years. We will have to make 2 payments a year, so it'll be around $4 million each for a total of $8 million. It's important to note that this $8 million projection is approximately 25% of the total amount of Measure C sales tax that we receive on an annual basis. So we receive around $32 million annually. So this is a commitment of a quarter of Measure C funds going forward for 30 years. It's also important to reference the city's debt management policy. And so in that policy, it gives a guideline as to how much debt our organization should take on in order to continue to remain financially stable and strong. And that is a policy that many cities have, especially those that issue debt. We currently do not have any debt on the general fund. We have very little as it relates to some fire apparatus that we purchased through a lease purchase agreement. And so this debt burden of $8 million annually will represent around 3.6% of our annual operating general fund budget, which is well below the 10% threshold that is articulated in the city's debt management policy. In other words, this is not necessarily strapping us operationally to be able to make these payments, and there is some capacity if the city council would like to explore additional debt issuances for other projects in the future. So the closing schedule as it relates to our financing, this item is, the ordinance is being introduced today. If it moves forward, it will then go to next week's city council meeting for adoption. We will then meet with the credit agencies on October 2nd. That ordinance will take effect 30 days after on October 17th, which then gives us the authority to proceed. The competitive sale is scheduled for October 21st, and we anticipate bond closing on November 4th. Staff will inform the city council of how that goes, and then we will have adequate funds available to proceed with both projects. Here's the staff recommendations before the city council and the finance authority this afternoon. That concludes our presentation. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DiMartini. Are there questions from council? Start with Ms. Sneddon.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. Just one brief question. If there were any changes to these projects, so say we went to grass turf instead of plastic turf, or something that changed in the police station, would that affect this at all? Or this is the funding for the project, and the project still may have some adjustments?
Councilmember Sneddon, this is the funding for the overall projects, and so if there are some individual changes to the scope that doesn't impact the overall budget for each project, it should not be an issue for the debt issuance.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh, Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This question is, I have two questions for Park and Rec and the Police Department. Just to give the community a background of, let's start with the Park and Rec's director, Ms. Zachary. Could you tell the public, like, when was the last time that park got renovated, or any type of, if the bathrooms ever got renovated, just so the public can understand a little bit why this is such a success to get to this point for this specific park?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Rouse, Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez. This park was established in 1925, so it will be 100 years old next year. There has been no real investment in this park since the 50s. It is facing tremendous challenges on a lot of different levels that require a full-scale renovation. It was established as the municipal soccer field back in 1925, and then renamed in honor of Dwight Murphy. And as a result, it is very popular as a field, but some of the main challenges are we have to close it 4 to 5 times a year to renovate the turf. Access is challenging. We've got some fairly significant safety issues as well there. And through the efforts that we underwent starting in 2018, the community input, the workshops, the surveys, this park is designed entirely in response to that and the desire for all of the amenities that are currently proposed today.
Thank you so much for that information. My next question, Chief. And similar to what I asked from the director from Parks and Rec, just to give the community members a little bit of information why we need a new police station. I mean, I've mentioned this in finance. I've been in that station many, many times. And just if you could just give the public, you worked in other police departments and how the department's kind of divided in other buildings. Oh, please, Chief. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Rouse, Councilmember Gutierrez. Where do I start? I'll keep it short. Our current facility challenges are exactly that, challenges. We are spread throughout multiple buildings, which makes it very difficult for us to effectively deliver services to the community, because that's what it's really all about. And when it comes to recruitment and retention, providing facilities that are appropriate for the members of the police department is also very, very important. So whether it is a locker room for our female employees that is inadequate, whether it is the fact that our dispatch facility is off-site, our recruitment is in a separate building, animal control is in a separate building, we have constant challenges with our facility, whether it is our generator, whether it is our leaking windows, whatever it is. The building was built in the early 50s and, for a department of the early 50s and not for a department of 2024. So a new facility will allow us to provide services not only to our community better, but to our employees. So that's the short answer. I could go through a long list, but that's the short answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Keith, so we don't talk about now what the 25%, we known this was coming, the hit to Measure C globally. So we'll see that hit then early next year when we start to look at budget, comparing what we had this year to work with Measure C resources, say out in the streets or for homeless or whatever else, compared to what the department had will essentially be giving that department a 25% reduction to work with. Is that how you see this going forward?
Councilmember Jordan, so first, staff has very well been planning for this event for years. So we have been programming the use of Measure C funds well in advance of the actual issuance. So that's the first thing I'll say. It needs to be a priority, quite frankly, that we make our debt service payments on time, in full, per the schedule. that has to be the priority. And so the city administrator's recommended budget every year will account for that. We do have the benefit of being able to delay interest payments until completion of each project. And so there will be some capacity over the next couple of years until the projects are completed before that additional amount of debt service is required for the interest. With that being said, the city administrator's proposed budget will go through a process to balance like which projects require the most amount of funding, right, over the next couple of years until that additional amount kicks in.
Yeah, so I'll just sneak a comment in, when we're looking at use of Measure C funds, like particularly streets. So it'll be pretty obvious that we're not going to look outside and see the mayhem we see going on now, after this is implemented. But I think as part of the budget presentations in the detail would be really letting us know what that change looks like so that we're out in front of that for talking points and, why did we see so much road work going on and we don't see road work now? People will forget this is why in a year when we're building this monster, but and I think it'll be worthwhile to see. I got so much for street replacement or street improvements last year. We're now going to reduce it to this year and get out in front of those details right when we're looking at it in the budget standpoint, so we're prepared for that outlook. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I've got one quick question. This may be actually for Mr. Hess, since I see him in the audience there. It's about item 3 on the priorities for the first 5 years, and it was replacing Fire Station 7. As I recall, that was problematic because that is the Stanwood station. That's not you. You're the engineer in the crowd, for gosh sakes. Okay. Now, Mr. Director Maurer. But as I recall, that because we share that space with the Forest Service, and there's a fault line issue up there. That's the Stanwood station is not currently on the list of the priorities for the. Is that correct?
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, Council, yes, that is correct. The issue, there's no doubt, the asset condition of station number 7 at the top of Los Alturas and the Riviera is not in good shape. Unfortunately, it does not on just one, but 2 active fault lines up there, and current code for emergency response facilities prohibits construction of a new facility or a major rehabilitation of an existing facility in a seismic zone. So yes, that is the issue.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to kind of reaffirm that we weren't kind of jumping the list here. We're going down, crossing, or jumping over that. So thank you very much. With that, we're going to go to public comment.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just interrupt for a minute, if you could just make it clear and announce that the public hearing, as Mr. Hale mentioned, is a joint public hearing between the Finance Authority and the City Council, the City Council public hearing. Thank you.
That's correct. So, and public comment will be going to the City Council. That's correct. And with that, we'll also have a number of speaker slips. I want to hear from everyone. I'd like to, Madam Clerk, I'd like to go to 2 minutes per to just to make sure, because we do want to hear from you all, and there's a fair amount of interested folks out there from what I can see. And we'll start with Kelly Almroth, followed by J.J. McLeod.
Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Brett Almroth, and I'm here today wearing a few different hats. Santa Barbara native, mother, constituent, and member of the board of directors at Moxie. In all of these roles, I am encouraging you to approve the addition of funding for the refurbishment of Dwight Murphy Field to Measure C today. In doing so, you allow the building of Gwendolyn's Playground to happen after years of great community support and excitement. As a lifelong Santa Barbara resident, I can say that I have played at every single playground in Santa Barbara. As a past nanny and now as a mom, I have played with dozens, if not hundreds of children on our city's playgrounds, and I can say with a pretty solid conviction that not one of our playgrounds allows a parent with a disability the pleasure of playing with their child. I cannot imagine not being able to push my child on a swing, see the delight on their faces as they slide down a slide, or celebrate in the moment with them as they conquer a new skill on the playground. But even more critically, as the mom of 2 typically abled children, I find it imperative we provide Santa Barbara with this joyful space where kids can play with other kids that may have different abilities than themselves. My typically abled children playing side by side with children who are disabled provides a natural space for discovery of similarities, a community that prioritizes a playground like Gwendolyn's is a community that cares about a future generation that can be more understanding, more compassionate, more united, and better equipped to work together, which prepares them to be inclusive and effective leaders, capable policymakers, teachers, doctors, parents, and neighbors. In providing funding for the refurbishment of Dwight Murphy Field with Measure C, you get to provide our children and future generations of children the space to dissolve barriers of the unknown and allow for a community that embraces all of our uniqueness. Moving forward with this addition to Measure C so that Gwendolyn's playground can be built is the right thing to do for Santa Barbara. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. J.J. McLeod?
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today to speak. Many of you have heard me talk in the past about the importance of inclusion spaces as the Director of Education at the zoo, as an inclusion specialist and board member on the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation, and as a mother of 3 children, one with a disability. A lot of quotes state, an important quote states that 1 in 10 children have a disability, which gives 9 kids a daily opportunity to include and talk to somebody with a disability. This is not true because those children would need to, in fact, be included in everyday activities, programs, at parks, in zoos, at camps, at restaurants, on sports teams, and be a part of our community. The other 9 kids need that chance to learn about disability, to see disability, and to talk about it because it is a part of life. For too long, special needs, or rather rephrasing that into the human needs of those with accommodations, they have been the add-on, the extra, the not thought about, intentionally planned for, or prioritized. And this park is changing that. When becoming pregnant, I didn't think that playing or having friends was not an option. I needed a place like Gwendolyn's Playground, and I needed to see that we were welcome, that I was not alone, that many before me had risen to this occasion, and that I wasn't the only one wondering why. I needed to see that I would not be alone, and more importantly, that my son wouldn't be either. I'm going to cut the rest of my speech and leave you guys with a favorite quote from my favorite movie, from The Lion King. Rafiki said, "It is time." And I wholeheartedly believe that it is time for our city to step into this new realm of seeing all kids play side by side. And I can't wait to see this get passed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Carter McLeod?
Hello, my name is Carter McLeod, and I am 10 years old. When I was 5 months old, I was diagnosed with 2 brain tumors, and the same month my big brother Milo was diagnosed with autism. Over the next few years, I had plenty of support, safe places, and adults working with me to make sure I was okay. My brother did not have all of that, and I don't think that it was fair. It has been 10 years since we were both diagnosed, and I've gotten so much support. But Milo, he still doesn't have a place where he can play, see kids like himself. For my entire life, all 10 years, we needed this playground. Please build this playground for Santa Barbara. I would love to meet friends that have my brother or sister with autism like Milo. I would love to play with my whole family. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret, I'm going to say Dekine. To get close?
Sorry, Margaret had to go to a volleyball game, so I'm stepping in for her.
Okay. And are you Tim?
I am TJ Dekine.
Oh, okay.
Timothy Jr. Good afternoon. Today I want to discuss why it's crucial for us to invest in a multi-generational playground like Gwendolyn's Playground. Our community needs a space that serves not just children, but families of all ages. A park that caters to multiple generations can bridge gaps, foster connections, and create lasting memories for families. Imagine a place where grandparents can easily access and watch their grandchildren play. where parents with disabilities can engage in activities alongside their children, and where siblings of different ages can find something to enjoy together. This kind of environment encourages family bonding and strengthens the ties that hold our community together. Also, a multi-generational playground addresses the need of our diverse population. It's a space where families with children of varying abilities can come together and experience joy without barriers. This inclusivity promotes understanding and respect across age groups and abilities, making our community stronger and more cohesive. By investing in a playground that accommodates everyone, we're not just building a park, we're nurturing a more connective and supportive community. Let's make sure that Gwendolyn's Playground becomes a place where families can come together, create cherished memories, and celebrate the joy of being together. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim DeGun. There's a whole bunch of you, so make sure I'm saying your last name right, would you please?
Hi, I'm speaking on behalf of my dad. He's at a volleyball game with my sister. He's a local attorney in town and also a great dad. So here goes. Good afternoon. The creation of Gwendolyn's Playground is just the beginning. To ensure this playground remains a highlight of our city for generations to come, it's crucial to build a sustainable endowment fund. The Gwendolyn Strong Foundation is committed to contributing to this effort in several key ways. Firstly, they plan to continue engaging with local businesses, organizations, and individuals to secure ongoing donations and sponsorships. By fostering these relationships, they can ensure a steady flow of support that will sustain the playground long term. Secondly, they will be working on developing partnerships with philanthropic organizations and grant-making bodies. These partnerships will help access additional funding and resources to support the maintenance and the development of the playground. Finally, they'll be spearheading community outreach initiatives to raise awareness about the importance of the endowment fund by educating our community about the need for ongoing support. They can inspire more people to contribute and become involved in preserving Gwendolyn's legacy. Together, we can ensure that Gwendolyn's Playground remains a cherished and vibrant part of our community, serving as a testament to our commitment and inclusivity and community spirit. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Strong.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to see you all once again. As you know, over the last 8 years, I have worked alongside Parks and Recreation on the redevelopment of Dwight Murphy. I am so proud of our community. The enthusiasm surrounding this project, the collaboration of local families, schools, businesses, nonprofits, and all of you. I have poured my heart into this, and Santa Barbara has poured support and funding right back. This really is a model for positive and productive collaboration. We now find ourselves at a critical juncture. Our donors have been waiting for years to get shovels in the ground, and many of our largest donors come from foundations with grant terms, meaning the unspent funds cannot linger in perpetuity. If we do not break ground in the next probably 6 months, those funds will have to be returned. And sadly, I do not think this project will survive. However, all of the previous investment in Dwight Murphy means it is now ready. We just need final funding, and this bond is that opportunity. Let me highlight just a few reasons why this project is a good investment. First, I witnessed firsthand the power of one little girl who was very, very different from her peers. She transformed hearts and fostered the most beautiful, inclusive relationships, not only with her fellow kindergartners, but with their parents, the staff and teachers, the entire elementary school, and our greater Santa Barbara community. Anyone who met Gwendolyn and felt her wonder and joy for life left with a broader outlook and a new understanding of the value of diversity. This project will have that same power and a ripple effect on generations of people, shaping society at large. I'm going to skip all the other reasons, but they're really important. I'll email them to you. With this bond, I can go back to our donors who are so enthusiastic about this project and show the progress and continue fundraising for the long-term endowment to protect this investment. The Gwendolyn Strong Foundation is committed to providing that for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Eleanor and Willa Strong.
Hello. Okay. As the Sisters of Gwendolyn, this playground means a lot to us. It has taken nearly a decade to get the point that we are now. It would mean a lot to have the money to finish the playground. Thank you.
Gwendolyn's playground will be a really special place. Please build it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Gardner.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Emily, and I have been a part of the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation for about 2.5 years. And I've been so proud to tell everybody I know that I have been a part of this incredible project and received nothing but excitement back when I tell people that I'm a part of it. And I wholeheartedly believe that this project will be a huge asset to kids and adults, locals and visitors for generations and generations to come. And I know that I want my future kids to grow up in a community that embraces inclusivity and has the proper resources to allow children of all abilities to play and feel included. And Victoria has put countless hours and many years into perfecting this project, and it is clear that the community has heard her and seen her and wants this playground to become a reality. Myself and thousands of other community members are counting on City Council today to be able to finally see Gwendolyn's playground become a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny DeCon.
Hello. I'm here today to share my personal journey with fundraising for Gwendolyn's Playground. This project is incredibly close to my heart, and I've dedicated myself to raising the necessary funds to bring this vision to life. From helping with charity events to reaching out to local businesses and individual donors, I have seen firsthand the generosity and support that our community is capable of. Each fundraising event has been an opportunity to share Gwendolyn's story and inspire others to contribute to a cause that will have a lasting impact on our city. My involvement in fundraising is driven by a deep commitment to honoring Gwendolyn's memory and ensuring that her legacy lives on through a space that promotes inclusivity and joy. I've witnessed the power of the collective effort and the difference it can make when we come together for a meaningful cause. As we move forward, I remain dedicated to continuing these efforts, engaging with new supporters, and ensuring that we reach our fundraising goals. Together, we can turn the Strong's vision into a reality and create a playground that will be a cherished part of our community for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Cassian DeCon.
Hello again. It's so cool to witness the overwhelmingly positive response from our community regarding the proposal for Gwendolyn's Playground. This project has ignited a collective sense of excitement and support, and it's easy to see why. The idea of a playground that honors Gwendolyn Strong and promotes inclusivity has struck a chord with many of us. People are enthusiastic about the opportunity to create a space where every child can play regardless of their abilities. The community's support reflects a shared commitment to values of equality, compassion, and unity. Also, the benefits of this project extend beyond the playground itself. It's a testament to what we can achieve when we come together for a common cause. The involvement from local businesses, organizations, and residents highlight our collective desire to make our city a better place for everyone, and we will be a shining example to cities all over the world. The positive view of this project underscores a deep-seated belief in the power of community and the importance of inclusivity. Let's build on this momentum and turn our collective vision into a reality. Gwendolyn's Playground will not only be a tribute to a special child, but will also be a symbol of our community's dedication to creating a welcoming and supportive environment for all. Thank you.
Thank you. William DeKine.
Okay. Hello, thank you for letting me speak. I have anxiety, and sometimes it's hard for me to join in a regular playgrounds. The noise and crowds can be overwhelming, and I often feel left out. Gwendolyn's Playground will have features that make it easier for kids like me and others who might need extra support to feel comfortable and have fun. This playground will have swings for everyone, accessibility ramps, and sensory-friendly areas, so no one feels left out. It's not just about playing, it's about making friends and feeling like you belong. Gwendolyn's Playground will make sure that all kids, no matter who they are or what they need, can enjoy the fun and feel included. Let's make it happen and show that our community cares about every kid. Thank you.
Thank you. Logan DeKine.
Good afternoon. As we work towards the completion of Gwendolyn's Playground, I want to share my plans for actively participating in and supporting this incredible project. My involvement doesn't end when it's built. I'm also dedicated to volunteering at inclusive events and utilizing the multi-sport field to ensure that the playground becomes a vibrant and engaging part of our community. I hope to volunteer at various events hosted at Gwendolyn's Playground, such as family fun days, adaptive sports clinics, and community gatherings. These events will provide opportunities for the families to come together, engage in meaningful activities, and experience the joy of the playground. My goal is to help facilitate these events, ensuring that they are accessible, enjoyable, and supportive for everyone. Additionally, I'm excited for the multi-sport field, which will offer a range of activities for all ages and abilities. I love to help organize and participate in inclusive sport programs and community leagues, promoting the active lifestyle and fostering connections through sports. By being actively involved in these activities, I hope to contribute the playground's success and ensure that it truly serves as a hub of community and inclusivity. Gwendolyn's Playground will be a place where everyone can find joy and connection, and I'm committed to making that vision a reality through my ongoing involvements and support. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, TJ DeKine.
Good afternoon, everyone. I stand before you today with a deep sense of purpose and personal connection. I had the privilege of being friends with Gwendolyn Strong, a remarkable young girl whose spirit and courage left an indelible mark on everyone she met. Gwendolyn, despite her struggles with spinal muscular atrophy, was a beacon of joy and resilience. Her bright, curious blue eyes and unwavering determination taught us all a profound lesson about the strength of the human spirit. Gwendolyn's story has shaped my perspective on inclusivity and accessibility. Her journey highlighted the importance of creating spaces where everyone, regardless of their abilities, can feel welcomed and valued. It's not just about building a playground. It's about honoring Gwendolyn's memory by ensuring that every child has the opportunity to experience joy, play, and connection. This playground isn't just a project, it's a tribute to Gwendolyn's legacy. It represents our commitment to inclusivity and our acknowledgement of the fact that everyone deserves a place to play and belong. By creating a space that caters to children of all abilities, we are not only honoring Gwendolyn, but also embracing the values of compassion and equality that she exemplified. Thank you for considering this vital project and for helping us ensure that Gwendolyn's light continues to shine brightly through our actions in our community and our community's dedication to inclusivity. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there speakers online for this issue?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one raised hand, Ben Sprague. Ben Sprague, please go ahead.
Hello, hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. My name is Ben Sprague. I'm a Santa Barbara native. I am the CEO of Earl Warren Showgrounds, and I am a board member of Visit Santa Barbara. And I just wanted to voice my support for this measure. Recreation and public safety are critical needs of the city of Santa Barbara and are well worth taking a debt over, especially one that is as calculated and thought through as this one. And so I just want to voice my support with the staff recommendation and hope to see this passed today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe that's it for public comment. We'll go back to council for comment. We'll start out with Ms. Snedden.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. I think a few things that I'd really like to emphasize about this decision. And I think I'm remembering back when Councilmember Friedman and I were on the same ballot as Measure C, and there was a lot of discussion about promises and delivering on promises. And I just really want to frame this discussion for myself about it being about promises and commitment and community. And these were things that were discussed fully when Measure C was on the ballot. First, starting with the police station. Police station is fundamentally unsafe for the officers and for our community. One thing that wasn't mentioned was that it's seismically unsound. And in a natural disaster, that hub of safety, communication, dispatch is not up to par seismically. On top of that, we have mold issues and safety issues for our officers themselves. And Measure C very specifically promised an update for a more progressive police station, not just a new physical building, but also that building have community-facing rooms and the ability for community policing and inviting the community in. And I believe it is making good on that promise as well. This action today would be making good on the promises of Measure C. It's a really important message that we make good on the promises of our tax measures. It maybe takes a while. It maybe took us to this 7-year mark to be really making good on this particular commitment. But it's about time, and even though it might seem like that was a while ago, this was one of the main functions of Measure C as listed. I think what's also really important to emphasize with this is that the funds will be paid back with funds that the voters have already approved in Measure C. So this is not just taking out a debt that we have no way to repay. We have 7 years of data that Measure C brings in this amount of money. We are borrowing against that expectation of what's already been approved for by voters. So this is not debt that we're expecting any new source of funding to be able to pay back. And I think that's also an important part about keeping our promises. In addition to that, I think it's really important to emphasize that Measure C, and as it was listed, didn't just promise funding for a police station, but there were some other very important bullet points on that. And I think that this is a combined action with both of those, really shows that we honor the other priorities of our
ballot measures and what we do responsibly with the taxes that we collect. And I think this sort of joint motion shows that, you know, didn't matter what order in those bullet points, that parks and recreation, specifically towards the community, is really highlighted in this action. And this was a park and recreation function I'm not sure we knew at the time that we needed, and has come forward so strongly with community support. And I really want to thank the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation for educating us, for educating the public on what has been missing. Really want to thank your commitment to this project and finding donors, and you also keeping promises to your donors that you would persevere in this and get this done, get this to this point. This uniquely meets a need that our community was not meeting, and will build stronger community over time. This is about not just individuals who are otherwise abled, but about whole families, and then about how whole families interface with everybody in our whole community and all families. You know, the description of grandparents or parents who might not be able to push their children in a swing. So it's multi-generational, multi-community. I really can't wait, and you know, may Gwendolyn's Playground do honor to her name. And really, thank you. And I support the motion.
Mr. Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So thank you for your comments. I agree with everything that Council Member Sneddon said. And first, you know, sometimes when we're going through the agendas, you look at this, and as we were at finance earlier, it's a finance item, and it's just approving the funding to go forward with these projects. But then it is important to take a moment and pause and recognize the significance of what we're actually doing and the benefits of the city. So I really appreciate all of you that came and spoke at finance earlier today. I thought that was powerful public comment, and then you took it all to a whole new level up here. So I really appreciate it. And just briefly, I can't thank everyone, but I wanted to say, Victoria, you and your daughters, Ella and Eleanor and Willa, just for your whole family to come up here and speak. You did an excellent job, and just overall, and really it was great to hear your whole family come and support this. And I also had, before the meeting, a chance to meet Carter over there, and you did an outstanding job, not only represent yourself, but your brother and the reasoning behind this. So, you know, just having all the youth speak today, and getting up here is very nervous in front of all adults and everything. It's just why we're here. And Ms. Almaroth as well. Many times on this project in particular, we focus on the children and the accessibility for the children. But when you said that it's the ability for a parent who might have a disability or accessibility issue to not be able to enjoy something that other parents have with their kids, that's something that doesn't get raised as often just in society in general, and it's an important point. So it really brings the full circle of this is for families and everyone. So really wanted to appreciate all the comments on this. And then to our staff, it was a good innovative effort to combine the two projects, because we had the police station going forward, but we didn't have a way really to fund this, the renovations. It would have taken many, many more years to move the park forward, especially now that 25% of Measure C approximately would go to the police station. So when looking at the economies of scale and the ability to do that and making that determination, it was really innovative and a big community need on that. So I want to thank our staff for coming up with that and pursuing it. It was important, and we're seeing the benefits of that. And then to follow up with Councilmember Sneddon on Measure C, we were elected at the same time, and everything she said is accurate, that this is about keeping the trust and the promise. And there was a debate at the time of whether or not it should be a specific or a general fund tax, and how can we trust the council? Those were some of the arguments against it. And this is the point, that we have continued to maintain the roads, but we are investing in our police station. We heard from the chief, the dilapidated circumstance that it's in, and we're investing in our parks, and that's about the trust in the council years later to make that decision, and it's paying dividends now. And then with the police station in particular, there's another aspect to it, is it is very difficult to recruit and retain police officers in this day and age for a lot of reasons. And having the station that we have, it hurts us in many ways in getting the officers of the caliber that we want serving our community. And the new station will give us an extraordinary tool to move forward, among the other reasons that were there, but it's very important. And then also with Dwight Murphy Field, I wanted to say that with the field, it gets into an issue that, and I mentioned this at Finance today, there's two major projects in town, Paseo Nuevo and the Cumbre Plaza redevelopment projects. And if those all both come to fruition, they're the biggest projects. Either one of those, that would be in the last 50 years of our city or more, but together it's going to change our city. And we are also building a lot of new housing for a lot of reasons. But what's lost in the conversation is if we don't build the infrastructure outside the housing, we're missing an important part of it, because we all need those services, we all need those amenities, and just the ability to connect with each other. And when we look back 100 years ago, and I'm glad Ms. Zachary mentioned that it was 1925, that the decision makers, the council, the community at that time started Dwight Murphy Field, and that's when it came to fruition. And we have, for the last 100 years as a city, benefited from the use of that park day in and day out for 99 years. And when we look 100 years from now, say the first 100 years, it met the need, and now the next 100 years, we'll look back to this moment when, maybe we won't be looking, but our future residents will, in 21, what year is it, 21, 24, we'll look back at this time and say, hey, they made a great decision that will benefit everybody. And so when you look at, there's a 30-year time payment, it's different than if it was a road, because a road, if we were debt financing a road, would only benefit those today. But a police station and a park that benefits everybody for decades to come, that is something, it's an investment that everybody will have. And then I also, lastly, just want to also thank our Congressman, Salud Carbajal, for going to bat for us at the federal level and securing funds to help make this possible. And by him engaging, and it elevated it as a community priority need and brought attention within the local community as well. So I want to thank our Congressman for getting involved with this, and happy to support this. And again, thank you to all who spoke today in at Finance. It's a really powerful day.
Ms. Harmon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will second, third, endorse all of what has been said by my colleagues wholeheartedly. And I did just want to, I guess for the second time today, reiterate the comments I made earlier to explain my thinking a little bit. I couldn't agree more, first of all, that we're not imposing any new obligation on the current taxpaying public with regard to a tax, so you're not going to see an increase by this debt issuance. But it is still, to me, a very serious and sober action to take, because there is it's not devoid of cost. We do have to make the decision not to undertake other projects in order to do this. So I want to be clear, for me, I did think very seriously and critically about what this means, because there's a limit to the money that we have. And by taking on this debt issuance, we have committed to repaying it. There is debt service that will come forward, and that means that there are going to be certain projects that we might want to undertake in the future, or that we might be considering. We will have to prioritize in different ways. And so I want to be clear to anyone that might be listening, I did not decide to support this debt issuance on a whim. It was not because we had, the public speakers you are all so moving, and it was so wonderful to hear from you. But this was something that we thought long and hard about, and it's not on a whim or not as a result of just one day of conversation that we're undertaking this debt issuance. And I want to be really clear about that, because it's a very serious thing, and I personally feel quite a responsibility when I think about the obligations that I'm setting up future councils, future citizens to be responsible for. I'm not going to be sitting up here when we start paying back this debt, when we are dealing with the debt service. And so it's easy for me to say yes when I'm not really going to be responsible for the difficult decisions that may come as part and parcel of this. Even so, even with all of that serious sort of heaviness when you think about what it means to issue debt, for me, this is not a project just for the now. As both my colleagues perfectly articulated, these two projects are future-proofing to the very definition of the phrase. Our police department building needs to be updated. We have asked of our police department, and they have delivered 21st century community policing. They deserve an infrastructure that reflects that commitment. Dwight Murphy Park needs to be renovated. Our community needs and deserves Gwendolyn's playground. That is about our future. It is about health, about equitable play. It's about freedom. There is nothing better, as I said earlier, that we could be doing with this money, in my opinion. And so I just had to go on record to say that we did think very seriously about this. We understand the import of making a decision like this, and thinking about it in a sober, serious way. For me, I still could not be prouder to vote yes on this today. Thank you.
Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to thank our city staff and our finance department. I know you have worked very, very hard and looked at the numbers and just gave us a clear pathway on how to fund these projects. For the police department, it is very much needed. I had mentioned in finance, being a local, I can't just assume that everybody understands how the department is, so that's why I asked the police to give us a little background. I was a police explorer when I was in high school, and I remember the police department then. I would say it was creepy. I would tell my friends, like, ooh, sometimes I feel like a ghost is gonna pop out. And then I would think, oh my God, if there's an earthquake. So every time I would hear communities say, you guys are gonna spend so much money in the police department, I would always tell them, like, please take a tour of the police department and see it for yourself. And surely enough, the community members would come and say, oh my God, Ale, you're right. That department, I have seen it grow as I've been growing myself in the community, and I'm very, very proud of our department. And we have, as the council, we have pushed the department for community policing, yet the circumstances of that department and just the accessibility and the equity as well, I think it's about time. I heard that. It's about time that we provide our officers, and they deserve it too, because when they are called to duty, they're there, and they do not complain. So I think it's very much needed in its time. For the Dwight Murphy Park, I had asked the director to give us a little background of the park and the history. So it hasn't been renovated in many, many years. And I also want to thank everybody that spoke today. All of you guys are very brave to come, and thank you so much. One of you mentioned about the human spirit. And that really moved me, because I think as policymakers, sometimes we get stuck on the details and money and how it's going to be perceived. And when one of you brought up the human spirit, I think this project really moved everybody's human spirit in the community. And I'm very, very proud of just the work that's been behind it, but mainly because you guys built community again. And that's what Santa Barbara is all about. So thank you.
All right, Mr. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank everyone who had a part in bringing this to us for approval. For me, it's an issue of just equity and access, and in relation to the police station, as my colleagues have mentioned, the current state of the police station isn't very accessible in itself, but the new one will be. It will be a community resource center. So it's important when we're talking about equity that these public buildings are accessible to the public as well, and they have to be designed from the ground up now to be able to address that. And the same goes for our parks. So this is why it's important for us to support something like this, so that we have more accessibility and equity when it comes to these public resources. So thank you.
All right, very good. As we get ready to make a motion, we're going to be two separate motions on both, one on item A, one on item B. And we will be taking, I will entertain a motion on item A. Ms. Snedden?
I'm prepared to move item A. Do you want a motion for both of them at the
Yeah,
same time?
Well, let's do one and then the other, please, because then I have to adjourn the other committee. So
Okay.
this is a motion on item A, first by Kristen Snedden,
Second.
second by Ms. Harmon. Madam Clerk, we'll go ahead and vote on that, and then we'll move on to the next item.
Mr. Mayor, just to be clear, so item A is the city council ordinance that you're adopting.
That's correct. The city council recommendation, the item B will be the finance
Right.
committee recommendation, finance authority board.
So because this is item A, this is a motion by city council, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so,
The
so this,
council resolution. The recommendation. I
it's
should
an
say.
ordinance.
Yeah.
It's a council ordinance.
So this is a recommendation by Councilmember Harmon. Snedden, seconded by
Harmon.
Councilmember Harmon, for recommendation A.
Correct.
Okay, please go ahead and vote.
Passes unanimously, thank you. And then I would entertain a motion for the finance authority board section. Okay, moved by Friedman, second by Herman. This is for the finance authority board recommendation.
Okay, so this is for the Finance Authority Board, and it's a motion by Board Member Friedman, seconded by Board Member Harmon, for recommendation B. Okay? Go ahead and vote, please.
Passed unanimously, thank you very much. And there, with that, I hereby adjourn the finance authority for the city of Santa Barbara. And we will move on. Good job. Move on to council and staff communications or council member engagements. Okay, well, with that, I attended both the, I was at the Friendship Center for a celebration out in, near the All Saints by the Sea Church, and that was an amazing part to see some of the senior activities. And then I was at the Project Harmony that went on at Libero Theater over the weekend. And if there's no one else, then we are adjourned. 5